Good evening. Welcome back in, everybody. Welcome in. Semi-sharp, salty crew in the house on what is it, a Thursday night? Y'all know I had to look. Y'all know I had to look. Probably for the 15th time today. I do not retain it for some reason. Don't ask me why. I'm going to say it's PTSD or whatever they call it. One day I decided I didn't like clocks and calendars, and my therapist said, I've never heard that before. I said, well, you have now. Now, please close the calendar and put the clock away, lady. You know what's best. Step away from it all. Anyway, welcome in, guys. It's 7 p.m. on a Thursday night, and we're here to talk about this case. And we got a special guest here tonight. True Crime Keith is here to join us. We've been trying to make this work for a couple weeks now, and we finally got it together. I think I put him on the spot today when I yelled at him in chat, hey, Keith, what are you doing tonight? So, let's not wait any longer. If I can find him, hold on. He's back here somewhere. Everything's messed up today. Oh, if I hit the right button. There you are. Welcome in, sir.
Hey. Hi, everyone.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, for
You bet.
coming on and having a discussion with us. This case has been a wild one, and I know you've been following it right along with us. You've been here in the chat with us a lot of times, active on the Twitter, following all the things happening. So, man, it's been a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah. All of the insanity, disorganization, you name it. The questions that when they get answered, you have more questions. It's just wild.
That's the worst part, I think, is when we finally we think we have an answer, then wait, that just leads to more questions. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this is True Crime Keith. He's been a member here of the community for a while. He's been popping, a lot of you know him from chat. Butterfly, if you'll grab his X account and toss it into the chat for us so people can follow him on Twitter. He has a lot of fun on the Twitters. We tend to do that from time to time. But we can't help it, can we?
Yeah, I love as a community, we still call it Twitter too, because I've always known it to be Twitter. Mm-hmm. And it's important to me that it's Twitter. And because I used to do, or I still kind of do, some sports stuff and everything. And it was kind of the same song and dance. But yeah, I have a lot of fun on it. I think I'm a lot better spoken on Twitter than I am live, but I'm getting there,
No, you're good, because I catch you when you're over with Shabugs talking Delphi, and I've always enjoyed you on her panel, and that's why I was like, yeah, we need to get him on panel over here to talk to us about these cases. So I'm glad it worked out. So we've been all following the 2 mile away glove stuff, and now we are hearing that the glove found 2 miles away belonged to a restaurant employee. Did that surprise you?
Not at all.
Me either.
My personal theory, and then again, this is maybe influenced just from listening to you so much, but that glove was always a shot in the dark, like a stretch. And I think they were hoping that it would lead them to something else. And we saw that through, what happened with Carlos and Luke.
Yeah.
My personal jury's still a little out on Luke, but
yeah.
That interview, I don't think really did him a lot of favors. And I'm not big on like when people sit down and talk the vibes, but that glove has always just been a stretch for me.
It was a stretch for me too, and especially when the news was reporting that there was something specific about that glove that they thought it was really close to what the abductor was wearing. I'm like, how do they even know what this guy was wearing at this point? No one seems to know about the gloves, but what was about that one so special as compared to all the rest, right? And these black restaurant gloves all look the same. I was in the restaurant industry for years. My son's dad still is in the industry. They're all the same. So it's not like, they may have different manufacturers at some point, but they're all the same. So it's weird. And I don't know that it must have had a really good profile because it was a glove, right? You would think that inside the glove's a good, solid profile. And they said early on, no matches in CODIS on that glove. So they had to do IgG on that glove.
And then if you take into consideration that Enton's done multiple videos where he's clearly stated there are gloves everywhere in this area.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, there was a random glove that stuck out like a sore thumb 2 miles out from Nancy's house. You could drive by. I've seen a couple videos where it's just like there's just trash piled everywhere.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm hard pressed to understand why Pima County and the FBI thought that was the glove. Just doesn't add up.
Well, and it didn't appear to have, that we know of, like, Nancy's DNA on it, like her blood that transferred onto the glove or something. None of that. And if they're like, "It doesn't match the crime scene," well, how do you know that if we got a mixture from the crime scene you're having an issue with? So that tells me that you maybe have a good partial profile out of the mixture, and with the partial they can start familial DNA, but you got to have something enough to make it not match the glove, not match the crime scene DNA. So if they go and they find the glove and they get IgG, which is still, I don't know how they got probable cause to do IgG on a glove that far away with no real evidence it was part of a crime. But so when they get it and they get this guy's name, this restaurant employee, did they go get his phone? Did they take downloads off of his phone? Did they raid his house and search it? What did we do? Just do an interview and say peace out?
Yeah, and as far as I know, we haven't heard from this guy at all.
Mm,
He's kind of staying in the dark, right? Like we haven't. It's not
yeah,
like Carlos or Luke where they've done like interviews exclusive.
right. It
I
took
mean,
Luke a minute to come out and start saying and
yeah,
start talking once he lawyered up. So I don't know
right,
where this restaurant employee, because it would happen yesterday. We got this news. I think it was yesterday actually. So we
right.
haven't had a word, or even how they got to who the person was. But they had to do IgG on it because they had a profile. Obviously, it didn't hit CODIS. So
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're leaning on a lot of exceptions that Nancy could possibly still be alive, and that therefore it's an emergency, and maybe they're bypassing some need for proper warrants or more proper warrants. I'm not a lawyer, but there probably could be a possibility there. That, or I'm guessing they got the hit. They went and talked to him. He had one of the cleanest alibis in history, and they were like, "Okay, we gotta go back and start over or take another route."
he could have been at work that night and they could easily confirm that, right?
Right,
Time
right,
records and things of that nature. The thing about with what we learned in the Koberger case, for instance, when Othram had the sample from the knife sheath and they were building IgG, they had to stop with the two brothers, right? The two cousins, rather. They were all in the three legal databases, and the FBI took over. Now, when we get to the FBI guidelines, the guidelines are they only use the legal databases, but they're not bound by that as a law. Right? It's just a recommendation they're supposed to follow. That's why it
right.
became a big deal in the Idaho case. Now, in this case here, it should be the same thing. FBI is only technically supposed to use the legal databases, so the guy could absolutely have been in one of the legal databases that CC speaks of, the GEDmatch and the other two that she talked about. One of them's fairly new. He could have been in there, his mama could have been in there, his daddy, his cousin, his uncle, great grandpa. That, it got to him legally like that. But I don't know if they're going to have new guidelines as to how far, because we even heard this in the Idaho 4 case about the random blood found on the stairwell, and the documents describe the strict guidelines for CODIS. The proximity to the crime scene has to be there. There's
Right.
so much criteria. You can't just say we think it might be a part of the crime. That won't get you into CODIS. So I'm still baffled as how they figured this glove. And I get that it's an emergency. And I've always said, like with even the Idaho 4 case, that I really care how they got to Koberger in the end. Probably not. But I also don't want them knocking on my door one day because my DNA showed up somewhere that it might not, it wasn't even part of anything, right? That's that fine line we got to walk. It's weird. I mean, it's not weird, but it feels weird to put ourselves in that position.
Well, and look at what they're doing or what they did with like Tommaso and the
Yeah.
mask, and it's just like people are so easily impressionable. The second you say there's a hit on DNA. I'm shocked Nancy Grace didn't take that and run with it and make a huge deal out of it. I'm
Yeah.
guessing they cleared him in time before, some of the more nefarious media sources were really pushing it. But you got to imagine IgG's got to be probably a little bit tougher now that the ancestry profiles, you opt in
Uh-huh.
for to be shared with law enforcement. That's a very layman term way of explaining that, but I don't know how prevalent that was before
Well,
or during Idaho 4, but it's got to be tougher now.
we learned about it in Idaho 4.
Yeah,
That option was there, that you have to opt in or opt out, and it was buried in the fine print, right? So not even a lot of people knew about that option. And now Cece talks about this one database that's just for that, where you can go upload your DNA. So if they ever want to look for a criminal, they have access to your DNA, and it's outside of any IgG family stuff you may be doing genealogy wise. But they always said it was a tool, right? A tool, a tool, a tool. It's coming to the forefront now because they used it in the Golden State Killer case. Paul Holes spoke about it at great lengths at one of the crime cons and talked about how the investigators in Delphi had approached them. Because I always wondered, why was it never used in Delphi if we had any sort of DNA? And they would always make these comments like they got their hands full with that DNA in Delphi, and I could never make it make sense, right? And I don't like it when it don't make sense. Y'all know that. So there was something amiss with, well, we know now a lot more than we did back then, but that's a whole
right.
other story. But that was never attempted in that case either. But I heard Paul Holes talk about it extensively about the Delphi case, and I know he worked on the Golden State Killer case. And
Yep.
so when you examine the cases where, and then even when you go back to BTK and how they collected his daughter's DNA through her medical records, and they knocked on Carrie's door one day. FBI's at the door, man. We got to talk to you. Your DNA matches who we think is a serial killer. First of all, how'd you get my DNA, right? And they got it from her doctor's office.
Well, and not just her doctor, but the one, the sensitive doctor.
Yeah, the
If I
lady
remember
doctor.
correctly, yeah, the lady doctor. Thank you. I don't want
The
to. I don't
lady
want to say it
doctor.
without. I feel weird saying it. I'll have you say it.
The gynecologist got her. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
the different types of swabs, but
Yeah.
yeah, Delphi. Maybe Pima County and this whole situation could be very similar to Delphi, where there's such
Yeah.
a gray area on what was tested, what wasn't, what could have been. I think there wasn't enough of a profile on a couple things. A lot of the confirmatory testing was consumptive, so you're just not going to really get a second chance at getting it right. What I can accept is if they come out and say, like in Delphi, where there was a female hair wrapped around Abby's hand, and it went untested leading up to the weeks before Richard Allen's trial. If we had a situation like that, I think all hell's going to break loose with this too, just for the national attention it's gotten.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder too how much they did consume during the testing part, especially if this DNA probably just came off door handles because the guy was gloved up. We see that. I do not think for a second he ungloved in that house, um, even if he had because we heard there was a glove found in the house, which turned out to be not true. And I'm thinking, why would he unglove in the house? Only logical thing I could think of was if he had a hard time uh, tying up Miss Nancy or something like that, maybe. But it didn't make sense to even take the gloves off. So what was he touching in the house? Doorknobs. He's probably touching the least amount of stuff he can probably touch. Because I think he's going to be thoughtful of that part. But we all know there's got to be saliva on those gloves at some point. And I don't know if they're saying up to 3 mixtures, and if you don't know who 2 of them are, does that put 2 people in the house? And was it enough of a profile to test against those that should have been in the house? You know what I'm saying?
Right. And if he's smart, and it looks like it to me. I don't know about everybody else, but it looks like he was double, maybe triple gloved.
Yes.
Um, and it's not hard to keep track of what you've got on as long as you have it. But also, if he's smart, those probably came right out of the package, or they were bleached or something almost before he got out of that car to walk up to the door. They're not. It's not like sitting around in someone's garage or something. Like they're sterile in some way, shape, or form. If he is who I kind of think he is, like they initially came out and said that this guy was like really sloppy and stuff, and I don't gather that at all. And
I
then
don't
also
either.
that begs the question too: if he's that sloppy, what does that say about the law enforcement working this
Thank
case?
you. Thank you. If we're gonna go with this guy's so stupid, then why hasn't he gotten caught yet? If he's gonna slip up that bad, we got some
Yep,
really bad cops that would include the FBI. So I agree with that.
correct. Yep.
It's crazy because it it does appear he has on several pairs of gloves. What I can't tell is if he's got on a thicker pair of gloves because it's not cold. It's not like he's worried about freezing to death out there. How many? It just appears like he's either got really thick hands or he's got a lot of layers of gloves on or a thicker pair of gloves with like the latex style over that. Um, and a lot of times, and but I don't think he took any of those gloves off and tossed them around willy nilly. I just never bought that this guy's going down the window with his victim and just tossed his glove out. One glove, right? Because it was just this one glove found, apparently. I know there was a pair found at one point, but we're talking 16 gloves total. And this one was supposed to be so important, and I don't know what made it so important when it turns out to be a restaurant employee. But anyway, but as far as evidence in the home and what we know and don't know, there's not a lot. So that goes back to him not being a guy who's not quite. He's not stupid. Do you feel like he's got some experience in the criminal world? Not just like for kidnappings or breaking and enterings, but specifically, but in the criminal world, like he's done stuff before, right? I
Yeah,
don't.
the likelihood, and again, I'm not a professional. The likelihood that that's the case, just from what we've seen, I think is very high. And I don't want to be a fence rider, but I think we also probably need to humor the likelihood that maybe this is his very first one, and so
Uh-huh.
everything is just airtight. Like I think using that, not the vines, the floral that he used to, at first we thought he was covering the camera, and then now I swear, and I've consumed a lot of media on this case. Salty, you're the first person I heard say that he used those flowers, whatever that is, to actually get behind the camera and pull it off.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a possibility. But it everyone thought that was like he was foolish and he was unprepared. And my thought is, well, he's using the environment around him, and he's bringing fewer things from his environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about like leaving a glove behind. That's something that he brought from his environment. If he didn't need like rope or tape or whatever, all the better, because that's just
That's
you know
true.
it
Because
decreases the
even
likelihood that anything's going to be traced back to him.
Yeah, even with the piece of tape, like I was saying, why not bring a piece of black tape? If he
Right.
left that black tape in his garage and he ever got his house searched, they could tie that piece of tape back to the tape in the garage. We've seen it happen in other cases and things like that. So you're right about
Right.
that, unless he has to bring in. We already know he's got a backpack full of something. So if
Right.
right, so that makes sense too. Use
And
something from the environment, the less you got to bring in to leave behind.
yeah, keep in mind, they weren't necessarily going through Brian Koberger's trash. They were going through his parents' trash.
Yeah.
And
Eh,
so when we're looking at running things through, the ancestry route, again, just whoever comes in contact with that more and more and more and more and more, it just seems a little bit more dangerous, as opposed to something that like Nancy or Savannah or Tommaso or came in contact with before. Using that is probably a lot more effective. But yeah, if if they find the glove he actually used, I'm with you. There's DNA all over that thing because he was touching that light like left and right, and he had to have been, just to even put it up to his mouth.
And there's a chance that the gloves he had on would have Nancy's DNA on them if she was bleeding. There's that
Yeah.
chance that it's there, so there's no telling where the gloves ended up at, wherever the suit is, where, we never know sometimes sometimes they keep them. Now, going back to, where do you think this guy, like, this is his first time entering
Yeah.
a home? Now, yes, because there's always a first time for all of them, right? Any kind of crook, whether you got a
Right.
burglar or a kidnapper, there's going to be always that first time. But you want to do a lot of planning. If you're not going just, I think I'm going to run out tonight and commit a robbery and see what happens.
Yeah.
It
No.
felt like this was the way far more planning went into it. Then you have to wonder, what kind of person do we have at the door?
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to profile these situations, because I keep watching all these profilers and all these retired FBI agents, and they go, and when they're starting out their theories, they say, I don't believe this is a robbery gone wrong. They'll go through their theories on who this could be, type of personality, things to look for, all this. But then in the end, it goes back to what had to have been a robbery gone wrong. And they barely want to touch on, they'll kind of touch on the other, like a stalker obsessed person kind of thing. And then they're like, oh no, it's not that either. I'm like, well, which one is it? And then they don't, ransom, is not really a thing. What did you ever make of the ransom stuff to start with?
So I think it's the toughest aspect of this case because you hear a lot of major media tell us there's no proof of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we need to look at that through the lens of there's no proof of life that's been shared with the public. However, I also find it very difficult to understand why, and I'm just thinking logically, right? Like, not even
Right.
drawing on like anything historically. If I'm going to abduct someone, why would I put ransom notes out through freaking TMZ?
Right.
Why wouldn't I just contact the family? Why wouldn't I just I mean, if it's me personally, I'd probably go right to Savannah. I mean, she's the one. If let's say this was someone who was obsessed with the Guthries, and it was that kind of perpetrator, Savannah's the link to that, because if Savannah isn't on the Today Show, I don't think anyone's really going to know. I mean, Nancy's neighbors didn't even know that she was Nancy and related to Savannah, right?
Right.
So, I think if it was an actual ransom, like, why wouldn't you just directly contact the family? Tell Savannah, listen, I know you hit 8 million a year. You get a net worth of 40 right now. Let's talk, right?
Yeah, because if your mom went missing, you're going to be absolutely checking those emails, right, and watching.
100%.
Even if you had ignored the ones in the past that may have come in, you're watching at this point. So why would someone reach out? Now, I do know that the very first one went to KOLD, and TMZ didn't receive their first one for until 12 hours later.
Right. And I think
I don't
sorry,
know
go
what to make of. I just don't know what to make of that. And I know that some of the people have speculated that they got to be from the area if they went to local media first. But why go to any media, right? Any media versus going privately? Because even with a lot of high-profile kidnappings, they don't want the attention of all that media.
Right.
Because then you got all these eyes on you. How are you going to achieve your the goal of swapping her for the money? And I get it, you want your Bitcoin transferred to a wallet, but how are you going to produce her without all these eyes watching? Because the minute the police roll out to go meet wherever this place is at, to go pick Miss Nancy up, all the media is going to be following them. So, I mean, I agree with you. Why would you go so public with it?
And I think that you explained that way better than I did, by the way, because I think my point with the TMZ angle was more so of why even let the public know that because like the second that hits even local news, everyone's going to know that they should be looking for someone who is with Nancy, right? This isn't like Nancy was an 84-year-old elderly woman with dementia and like walked off. That's not the case. This is an actual abduction. I think just going back to it, I think the kind of that mentally sadistic person who's obsessed with Savannah, I think it's just very possible that someone could have taken Nancy, and Nancy is not with us anymore and probably hasn't been since the day she was taken, and ever since then it's been a tormenting of, or throwing the scent off the trail that Nancy might still be out there and that there's hope, because and I also don't think that Savannah would bother with those videos with those selfie videos that she's publishing, saying like we still have hope to find her, like I don't think it's too late, all this other stuff. I just think it's very odd that someone would have the motivation to go to a media outlet rather than just directly talk with the family. And that kind of brings me, and you and I, before the stream started, I brought up JonBenet very, very briefly, and I'm going to right now, just very briefly though. No matter who you think did it, I firmly believe the ransom note was to distract and bide more time away from what happened in that basement where she was eventually found. And I think that this could possibly, my conspiracy brain goes to, this could possibly be the same thing.
Well, even when I had Dolphin on last, one of the questions she had was why not leave a letter in the bedroom when they took her? It's something indicating this is a kidnapping for ransom. Here's your instructions. We have your mother. Do this, this, and this. And then I also wondered if, because it was done so publicly, the ransom letters, were they just a smoke and mirrors kind of thing? Look here so you don't look here. But if you go that route, you got to think, well, who the hell would do that and go to great lengths to do that, right? Because it's not a random burglar, and it's not an essay gone wrong type of situation. And if we're going to take ransom completely off the table, because the only thing about the ransom is the first letter that came. When you look at Savannah's videos, the first two she did, very, we all can agree, appeared scripted, things like that, very oriented as like if there was a kidnapping. And then the next two that came along had a very different tone. They were not as scripted. They were much more personal, as if she's talking directly to somebody now. We need to get a rapport going and some empathy. Now, so which angle is it? You were talking to a kidnapper, 2 videos. Now you're talking directly to an individual, it appears, in these last 2. So that stumps me. Are they working both angles? I'm saying a kidnapping for ransom and a possible obsessed person situation. Maybe an obsessed person wrote those emails claiming there was a ransom to throw the trail off of whatever they're doing over here. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's also odd to me. I believe it was 3 days after her disappearance that we got the first communication come through. Am I right in that? If I remember correctly.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Like we didn't get immediate communication for a ransom.
No, it was almost 48 hours.
Almost 48 hours. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking it was like, because I think it was like Monday night. So yeah, it was almost 48 hours into the situation when they got the first one from the KOLD.
Yeah, it's troubling to me that they can't route this back to someone.
Yeah. That's very troubling, isn't it?
It's bizarre. And I remember we were all joking about like go raid TMZ, like go figure out what's going on in there. And sit down and interrogate Harvey for 6 or 7 hours, not these poor random people.
If they had been the first and only one to get a letter, I would say absolutely.
Yeah.
KOLD was at first. And I know I have an interview too with Mary Coleman, the producer anchor over there. Nancy Grace had her on recently.
Oh, it's awesome
about it and how the FBI took it seriously, of course, because they,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know when it first happens, and
Right.
how they got there. They needed everything, all the information about. They go into the IP addresses where these emails were coming from, and like you said, why haven't they found the person? Now, it can be easy to use the VPNs to hide everything. Koberger was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they can probably do that, but you would think the FBI, with all their technology, could have found something by now, but they haven't. I, which they could be throwing an IP address that makes them appear to be in another country, and we've, like I've said, we can't just jump up and drive over there and get them.
Right.
We can't just walk over. This is a whole other country to deal with. So there's something weird about and also the way that KOLD Mary Coleman describes the letters, and then the way that Harvey describes them about being so articulate and being so well put together, and the way they're orchestrated, it's like a very smart individual, or a very educated individual, or somebody with incredible OCD when it comes to language and how they write, all their verbiage and perfect everything. All that seems to be like really meticulous. I'm like, well, that is an indication of what kind of person I have. Even if I got a scammer on my hand, I got an articulate scammer,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, and that kind of
That's
goes more into,
wow.
if they're that articulate and sophisticated, what led us to believe this was sloppy in the first place, because the DNA in the
Right?
house is tough. There ended up being nothing in the house that pointed anyone to, it could be this person. Nothing left behind in the yard, in the driveway. All that was canvassed. They were going through the septic tank, so it sounds like no one even went to the bathroom there. I think it was only in the house. What was it? 40 minutes. Yeah, 41
41
minutes.
minutes, about 41 minutes.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'd be curious to know what happened that would take that long. Maybe it was just like, it's 2 a.m, so probably waking her up.
Yeah, I was watching this FBI agent. He was a hostage negotiator, but he himself was held hostage in the past, right? Big hostage situation he was a part of, and they would ask him specifically about that possibility of the why they were there 41 minutes, and he said you would actually be surprised at how much conversation will take place between the abductor and the person they're abducting, giving the instructions, things of that
Right.
nature, getting them woke up, getting them to understand you have to do what I tell you, which, if they were taking that much time and having a wake up, she's startled, get up, maybe get dressed. Do you need to take medications with you? I don't know. Did she have time to get her hearing aids in? Did they allow her to do that? They need her to hear them as well, right? They don't want her, if they realize she can't hear them. And in the TMZ notes, or not, I mean, the one that KOLD received, they talk about the Apple Watch. Everybody's like, oh, they could have known that from early media reports. There was something specific about where the watch was placed within the room, and it wasn't a typical place you would find it, which would be next to the
Right.
bed, right? You would think. So was it not? Was it across the room, on a desk, in a bathroom? What the hell's going on? And where were the hearing aids that her friends say that she had
Right.
to wear? We don't know how much time they spent coaching her inside that
Right.
house.
Yeah, and that's again, I mean that makes a lot of sense as to why that would take maybe that time frame. Almost 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah. Well, and also to consider how much time did it take before they got into the house. So 41 minutes total. Are we talking time we got there to the time we left, which would include getting in the house and coaching and taking her out, not just 41 minutes inside of the house. You know what I mean? That hasn't really been clarified. We're just going by the time frame of 1:47, camera goes
Right.
off. 41 minutes later, we have the pacemaker disconnect.
It was what, 212 to 228?
228. 212 was this camera motion
Yeah.
detected,
And then
which tells you there was a
unless
second
there's other
camera.
video, that's out there. We don't actually see him enter the house to the front. And
Nope.
then was it the back door was propped, and then they're still trying to.
So Ashley Banfield
Yeah,
reported that the back door was left open,
right.
wide open. It was her words. So we have the front
Yep.
door, right, that we know they didn't
Mhm.
enter. Now, guys, notice where that bracket is again in relationship to the doorknob. And you can see the bracket still there. The camera is popped off now. Now, and when you look at, where did it go? Is it this one? See, the awning is in the way, but I don't see a bracket for a camera back there.
No, there is. So I know for Ring, there are accessories you could buy that can like snap onto gutters or like
Okay.
connect to roofs, or it was I don't know the actual term for it, but like a sticky, like an adhesive, like a almost like a command strip.
Yeah,
So
I know
there's
what
a
you're
lot of
talking about.
possibilities there.
True. Okay, because we had heard Ashley Banfield report the back door was wide open. She didn't say the garage back door, so we assumed the back door patio. We don't even know if
Right.
that's true, but we can see it's not damaged. I can see that doesn't appear to be a ring cam bracket like the front door would
Hmm.
have. So, but when Ashley reported cameras inside the home, well, there's got to be a camera, and we see that there's the cameras on the guest house because the timeline says 147 the camera goes offline, but at 212 we have a motion detection on a camera. So where's that camera? Because we got one that went offline at 147 and at 212 we have a
Hmm.
detection. So that has to be from a second
Because they never
camera. I did,
confirmed that it was from the
yeah.
same front camera, because he probably would have pulled that off by then, right? Or removed it.
Well, if it says 147 was a camera
Right.
disconnect, so that's 10 till
Uh-huh.
2. So how did 212 we have a camera detection somewhere? If the front camera's gone at
Correct.
that point, what camera's detecting at
Yeah, got to be
212,
something
right?
around
And
around.
right, and we know they had the 2 cameras on the pool house. We saw FBI taking that off the roof. Um, and we don't know about inside cameras. And the thing about the inside cameras, if that's a possibility, if they really do have something in there, I think it would see Nancy being taken out of her
Hmm.
home by the
Right.
assailant, carted through the living room from her room out to the front door.
Which then you would hope that they would communicate that they can confirm it wasn't a burglary gone wrong necessarily if they went directly for her, found her, got her ready, pulled her out. And it sounds like it was violent. I don't know if they got, someone got nicked by something on the way out, or if they, popped her one and her nose or her mouth was bleeding.
It looks like when you examine the spatter
Right,
out there,
right.
right? That it's like the large drops that
Hmm.
come down straight down 90-degree angle. And a lot of us here watch a lot of Joe Scott Morgan and things like that, and then listen to the experts talk about different spatter. We unpacked all that when we were looking at the horrific images from Idaho
Right.
4, analyzing the spatter. But there's that one small area where it appears like a cough occurred, and a lot of us noticed that right away because it was so different than the rest. And Joe Scott Morgan, the forensic expert, agrees with that assessment, that appeared. So then I had to wonder, well, how far was she from the patio? Because if she's standing upright and coughs, is it gonna hit the patio the way it did? You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? It appears she might have been closer. So did she fall down? I wondered, stumbled down because she could not walk well without her walk, or not her walker, but her
Hmm.
cane. And as far as we know, the cane was left in the house. So there's a chance she stumbled right there at the door going
Hmm.
out. Chance she was hit. I don't know. I don't know how close she was to the ground when this that cough I don't think I have that photo uploaded anymore of the close up
Yeah,
at that.
maybe they swung her around, or maybe she stumbled when they were, like escorting her out.
Yeah, there's a chance I think she could have stumbled coming out that door, but it wasn't so I mean, we see what we see on that
Right,
front porch, but there's also a chance it happened inside the house because Banfield is also reporting. Sources tell her there is spatter in the house that matches what we see outside, which tells me there's something in the floor in there somewhere that appears to be the same type of droplets we see outside. But where do they start in the house? Like bedroom, living room, kitchen. That would tell me where an injury
right,
occurred. You know? Maybe she was fine till she got close to that front door, and that one last "you're not taking me out of my front door
right.
alive" may have
Yeah.
come. It may have. I can't say that I wouldn't. My better thoughts might prevail and say, just go do what they tell you. You might can get away later. Part of me might say flight or
Right.
fight, figure the rest out later. Eh, I don't know until I get to that
Yep.
door.
Yeah, that's plausible.
And
Definitely.
yeah,
And then I hate to think that, I mean, whoever's doing this obviously is a psycho, but, they could have done a quick warning punch to
yeah.
the the noggin or the gut. And
Even a even a
yeah.
pistol whip, they
Yep.
have their pistol. That show of force is right there at the crotch. That's what it's there for. They don't want to use it. They don't intend to use it, but it's right there for you to see. That intimidation level is already there because everybody's like, why has he got that gun like that? That's
Hmm.
so crazy. That's gangster. That's this. That's that. That's what all these things. And I'm like, yeah, but you got it right there. You can't
Yep.
miss it. Nancy can't miss it. It's right there, and they don't intend to use it. We didn't even have a casing on the
Right.
floor, and if it was ever pulled, it was pulled to unfortunately hit her with, um, to gain that control, because it could have been pulled to use for intimidation reasons and already been out. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But they never intended to use it in that
Right.
nature. But that was my opinion on it. I don't think
Could
they
have been
did.
empty.
I don't think they're, yeah, I don't think the intention was to hurt her. Whether I got kidnapping for ransom, because you need to keep your victim
Yeah.
alive, and if it's another reason, I don't think they intend to hurt her either.
Yeah. They certainly didn't intend to hurt her at that location. Maybe a separate spot. Because it would just, again, if
Yeah.
we're talking about this person being a professional, it would be so messy and leave so much behind if they were to get into some kind of altercation, even if Nancy was completely overpowered. And then it's like you got to worry about getting a body out of there if something goes really wrong or whatever. My other concern is, we only heard about the spatter on the like the front patio. What about like the steps that you just had or like
The
somewhere on the
pat
ground out there, the drive? They must have either had her covered up or like something else happened.
Well, when we, I don't have it uploaded right now,
Uh-huh.
but, there was another the was it Mike Ruiz? I think it was Fox that released it about a week or so ago, maybe a week and a half ago. Anyway, there are blood droplets that lead down that sidewalk.
They do. Okay.
Yeah,
I
but they're
didn't see
very
that.
faint. They get lighter and lighter as they go out toward the drive,
Yeah.
okay? And so some of people theorize about there being a tarp in the backpack, a blanket in the backpack, something in the backpack.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I thought, well, what is the purpose of that? To drape over her where she can't see
Yeah.
versus just blindfolding her and grabbing her by the arm,
Yeah.
So
Could
or
have
did
could have
she
taken
put
like one of her shirts with them or something, and
she could have had something in her hand, a robe or anything,
yeah.
and put it up toward her face to shield to try to stop the bleeding. Because as
Right.
Rachel pointed out in chat, Miss Nancy's going to bleed a lot. She's on the blood thinners, and those of us who are caregivers or anybody who's older themselves know all that bruising she would has. That's because of age, and when
Hmm.
have these heart conditions and she has the pacemaker, you're going to be on a blood thinner and you're going to bleed incredibly easily. And
Yeah.
my dad was on them. Oh boy, we had to. He's a hunter and a fisherman and all the things, so like he was always injured. My dad's been known to shoot off part of his thumb bow hunting, okay, and
Yeah.
go back before it healed and shoot it off again. And we're like, dude, what are you doing? Anyway, so we always have to keep the band-aids around daddy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So they bleed. The slightest thing, man, can cause a lot of blood loss. So it didn't have to take a large injury.
Mm-hmm.
But what bothered me the most was that cough part, right?
Right.
Was that just blood that accumulated around her mouth, maybe, that when she did a cough, it came out looking like that? I don't know. I'm not an expert, so I don't know that part of it. But yeah, there does appear to be some droplets coming all the way down the sidewalk, but they do get lighter and lighter and
Okay.
fade out.
All right.
As they
I
go.
I just
Go ahead.
remembered. And again, there's so much like misinformation cycling through this. It's like hard for me to keep up with. I do remember it like the steps specifically not having the blood because they found that shirt that I think like a forensic
Right.
investigator left behind.
Well, they said right here to the left of the pad of the walkway.
Yeah.
That's where the shirt was found.
Right. Right.
It was left by, they said, the canine handlers who used it for the dog to
So
sniff.
the scent. Yeah.
Yeah, the scent dog sniffed it and they left it laying there.
Right.
Is how that ended up there. Now,
Nice.
one thing that also got me is that I wish I could had a better picture I wish I hadn't deleted all the pictures. So right there where the patio, the walkway is, there's a black iron railing in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Did Nancy grab that coming down to grab,
Yeah.
for balance? Did the abductor grab hold of it at any point? Because they could have transferred blood or saliva. Nancy
Mhm.
could have put her blood on there. The abductor could have put his saliva on there. Could have been the mixture. But who knows if that sheriff bothered to test anything outside that door, right?
Right.
Well, he did. He tested the blood on the patio because he confirmed days after Brian Enton discovered it up there. Oh, yeah, that is the blood, and we confirmed it was Nancy's, right? We're like, holy shit, dude. And
Right.
you want us to, what? She might have wandered off, you say? Anyway.
Right.
If you look, though, out here with the way this driveway wraps around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it comes from the road, and the angle of the driveway to the entryway there at the porch. Now, let me see if I can pull up this next photo to show you what. I was looking at it the other night. Actually, this is not the one. I'm going to show you a photo. But I took this photo. You can see that driveway. This has got a lot. Only thing done to this is lightened up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a car parked in that driveway.
Neither do I.
That's bothersome to me. I'm like, well, where the hell's the car? Because in my mind, telling me it's dark out there, you can't see the car. And I'll show you what I mean, because if you look at this one, you wouldn't know. If the lights were out, blah, 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 it's dark, right?
Right.
Wouldn't have no shit. But when you go back to this one, and it's just literally the lighting is lighter, that's it. I can see that driveway perfectly, and there's no car sitting there. Now, do you think he had a walkie-talkie in his pocket and he has an accomplice, or do we think this is a lone wolf guy and the car is out there but to the left and we can't see it? Because I say left because when this guy comes creeping up, he comes from the left side of that house. If we're looking out the door right at this angle to the left. Because if you go back to the aerial, let me just see if I debunk my own stuff here. Over here, you wouldn't see it, right? On the right-hand side, near where that truck is at.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it. The only problem I would have, and this is maybe where the Nest like backlog server data, there was like a problem with pulling it. I would like to think even on a, like I have a Ring camera right on my door, and it picks up cars that drive by. So was there some sort of avenue out, bottom right to where that truck is, that they could have just gone off road and gotten the hell out of there? Or did the Nest camera pick it up and we just haven't seen it yet? I would like to think they would share a vehicle if they had it. I mean, that was one of the first things they did in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
But like, why wouldn't that have picked up if they went out the normal drive? I feel like that would have picked up a vehicle.
And because I always wondered too, does the like a car about to do something at this house is going to be creeping up to the house.
Yeah, sorry.
Headlights are going to go out, right?
Yeah, I'll correct that. Not going out because he already tore the camera down. Coming in. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're good. But the only thing that bothers me about being over here on this side and coming in on this side of the driveway at all is there's supposed to be cameras on that guest house. One of those faces the driveway. It overlooks the whole entire parking pad in front of the garage, and it would overlook Nancy's whole front driveway there on the right side. Granted, we got the cactus and stuff in the the middle there, but as far as lights coming and going, it would see headlights coming in or headlights going out, things of that nature. But I'm like, where the hell would they park? Because you're not going to walk Miss Nancy down the road, and there's no way to get out of this neighborhood without a car. Even there's no off-road trails like you could ride and all the things. Is none of that. So you got to leave by car. You're not walking her out of this neighborhood. So where would a car be in this driveway if it wasn't parked in the sort, where I just showed you where the guy was standing? I don't know.
So, and this is where you, one of your chatters, GFM427, the car may not have been brought until they were leaving.
Yeah.
I think we see that in bank heists a ton, right? Like parked at the McDonald's 2 blocks down, you hear the bells, you start to drive up. That could have been, and then they could still communicate over two-way radio if they're, a house or two down. And I think that's why it's so infuriating that we heard about them doing a video canvas like weeks after, like talking to neighbors weeks after. Like I don't know what the holdup is on it, but that little side house, that was where they were pulling off the extra exterior cameras, right?
Yeah, the FBI came back like days later.
Right.
And took down these 2 white cameras that both had solar panels. One overlooked the green space in the backyard, right at the back patio, and the other one looked right over the garage area, where Tommaso would have dropped Miss Nancy off that night after the dinner. So it would have seen all of that. What I can't get media to confirm is, when did y'all notice those cameras, right? Y'all noticed the back light. Now, another thing about the floodlights. Every time, and I think God, I got to get my photos all uploaded. So every time I thought about the back light, the floodlight, every time we saw a picture of it, you could see the bricks behind the floodlight were heavily damaged. Not just the floodlight itself, they were dangling down from their socket. But the bricks behind there were totally damaged. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, that's a lot of force, because they damaged the damn bricks. One of the letters that came in, the very first 2 ransom letters, referenced the heavy damage to the floodlight. But at the time, nobody was talking about these bricks being damaged, just there was a damaged floodlight. And we don't even know when that got damaged, right?
Right.
So was it damaged before so that it would be dark? But would Nancy have noticed a damaged floodlight back there? The way it looked and the way it was damaged, absolutely she would have noticed, because it stood out. You would have noticed if you paid attention to your house.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they held on to some of it for, like, the confirmatory statements on the chance that they actually caught whoever did this. you
Well,
know.
if they had a vehicle of interest, like, really on her property, but couldn't tell exactly what it is,
Uh-huh.
say for instance, one of the that was a legit camera out there on the, guest house, and it does see a vehicle entering or exiting her driveway, but it's so dark they can't see what kind of vehicle it is. Are they trying to do some enhancements and then trying to find that vehicle along these other routes they're looking for? Now, interestingly enough, they did show back up in the neighborhood again today. But where they showed up at was intriguing, the houses they were going to, because we were looking at the map here just a couple days ago,
Yeah.
about the car footage they just came out with.
With the Kia Soul.
Yeah, the Fox News found the neighbor
Yeah.
2 miles away or whatever, 2.5 miles away, whatever it was. So we were looking at the whole neighborhood as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So today, let me get the map out and I'll show you guys where they were back searching. Um, Enton tweeted it out, and I noticed on his tweet they were at the house right next door where the FBI agent a few weeks ago was up there with his ladder. He was doing adjustments to the camera and he was downloading something. He was doing some work there.
Yeah.
They were back there today, but they were also canvassing other air. They kind of like went out and went in a different direction. And and I think what they're doing, one of the first times I agreed with JLR, um, because I went there to recon what the FBI was doing and where they were at. And when I
Mm-hmm.
figured out what was going on, what they were doing was, and it was so funny because while I'm watching JLR trying to do my recon, he the FBI lost him. Okay. And I'm laughing because I'm like, oh, dude, the FBI just lost you bigger than shit. Then the next thing I know, I wasn't paying attention to my phone. I was doing something. I heard you say, "Oh my god, there they are," and they, like, turn around, and so I grab my phone, like, "What are they doing?" Like, my entertainment, right? So when I
Mm-hmm.
look, he's busting a U-turn, and now he's following. It's a FBI in a blue car,
Mm-hmm.
Fox News Mike Ruiz in a maroon car, and then JLR behind Mike in his car, and they're all following each other. So we got a YouTube streamer, we got a media personality, both following the FBI. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, his some people were in his replies asking why he's chasing down the FBI. He's like he was like, I'm not, I'm following them. But
Hey,
they went to that house that I sent you the screenshots of. Technically her next door neighbor, that house over in the lot where he was messing with that camera. That's you're talking about, that's the video that Enton posted
wait,
today,
this is
right?
the ones you sent me earlier. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the house that is right next door to Nancy.
Yep.
That the FBI was at the day with the checking out the camera there.
Right.
So if you're looking at Nancy's house, it's going to be the house to the right hand side there.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think that camera's been there since 2011. The only question is, like, was it working and was it recording? Same as, Nancy's. So
It appeared to me something was wrong with that camera
yeah.
because of the way because I still have that video, the way he continued to adjust it.
Mm-hmm.
He was adjusting it and he kept touching it and making an adjustment. And then he would look at his phone. He would make an adjustment, look at his phone. I'm like, what is this guy doing? That wasn't a normal, I'm going to download your camera situation. And he
Yeah.
was just touching it too many times.
I wonder if he had like a device that he was trying to, because a lot of those cameras have like a QR code that you can scan, and then
Uh-huh.
that'll let you, as long as you know the Wi-Fi password, that'll let you connect to that camera. And I'm wondering if he was saying like, "Hey, do you mind if I?" Which would be like crazy if you're that neighbor to go, "Yeah, I'm totally okay with that." The FBI having a random access to my camera, but you never know. People want to help find Nancy. I'm just wondering if it was that, or if maybe he was, trying to get a serial number off of it or something like that that could help them. You'd have to think they would get a warrant and just pull the damn thing, and say, hey, like, your neighbor's missing,
Right. Right. And you're the gym show people, by the way. Have you seen what the media or the, streets are saying about you? Because that's the same
Yeah.
house where the people live that they everybody made a big deal about them being the gym show people. Um, it, it, it it's weird because when they let me pull up the map. I need a fresh cup of coffee too. Let me get the map up.
Okay.
So when they went today, okay, it's right around the corner from Nancy's. I'll show you guys. So we were looking at all the ways into and out of Nancy's neighborhood the other day. And that guy Luke lives, I'll show you in a minute.
Yeah, he said in that interview he lived close because he lives with his mom, and they interviewed the mom too.
Yeah, we reviewed the year.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
I've been in and out of your last few lives, so
Oh yeah, you're good. No, you're good. Yeah, we reviewed them. So Luke, Nancy's here, of course, at 5820 Camino Escalante. Luke lived up here off of Orange Grove, okay?
okay.
It was just like about 2 miles away.
Yeah.
Now, uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that yet. I wanted to, oh shit, go back. Ah, I don't, oh, hell, I hit the wrong button. Hold on.
You're good.
Okay, let me pull this back up again. Okay, now I'll try it again. So if we look out though, this is Campbell here on the right hand side. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the road that a lot of the media and everybody was using to go in and out of her neighborhood because it's pretty simple coming off of that street, right? But we kept hearing how it's twisting, it's winding, and all these things. It's not like that coming off that one road. I'll show you a little closer in a minute. But that house that had the car at 2:36 in the morning, it was on. Okay. This side of the neighborhood, below it, leading down toward East River Road, right? So here's East River Road
Mm-hmm.
down here. And between here and Nancy's is where that car was seen.
Okay, so it was heading northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Because I have
towards
the
town.
actual road. I wanted to kind of stay right. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're good.
right. So yeah, East River Road is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be the interstate is super close, and there's a big intersection here at East River. There's restaurants and all the things right there, and it
Mm-hmm.
comes straight out. See, Campbell runs into East River as well. You can turn on Campbell, come all the way down, and then you can come in onto Sunrise. But if you go Campbell, Nancy's here, and you get off, leave her driveway, and you take a right, get off there,
Mm-hmm.
and you go back toward this way. You come up to Camino La Zorella,
Mm-hmm.
and you take a right, and you're right back to Campbell. It's like take a right out of the driveway, go down, take a right, take another right. You're on the road, right?
Right.
Simple to me. It's not that hard. Now, again, that house with the vehicle was seen as way here at the bottom. And if you zoom out like this, you can see this kind of like circle around the area there, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Those are the
so
those are the 4 points of where they would have had to be to get out
y-
of Nancy's.
yeah, and
Yeah.
if you go further back though, if you go above her address, like north, south, east, west, whatever this, all this above, up
Uh-huh.
here against the wilderness, the Push Ridge Wilderness, it gets very rural out through this way, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
as far as main roads go and things like that, Mexico, all the things you're looking for that may where would they go, right? Where would you take her if you
Right.
go? So the further out you go, you got the Oro Valley area, the Mount Lemmon area people talk about online, because all of that is like really secluded. But if you go further this way, you got I-10,
Mm-hmm.
is here. You could jump on the interstate and run wherever, California, New Mexico, wherever you want to go.
Yep.
So, but if you go back into the interior of the neighborhood, which way you're going to go out probably depends on where you're headed, right? I don't know, unless you're trying to be less seen. So today, when they were back into her neighborhood, they were over on. Let me get onto the road. They were on. Whoops, that's not it. And then I'll take you on the street view and show you some things. Hang on, let me actually put the street in they were on.
Yeah, you're good.
It's right around the corner from Nancy's, and it's headed toward what would be toward Luke's street. But
Hmm.
I don't think it's like they were looking because of Luke or anything. I'm just saying that's the route, even though it puts him still in close proximity to what they're talking about, right?
Right.
Oh, here it is. Hold on. Let me get it. Let me grab it from right here. Okay, here we go. All right, let me get it put in the right address. Oh, the right street, rather. The right street.
It's
Oh,
just
when you,
crazy to me that there's just so that, I mean, it's not like it's, small little 2-bedroom house snuggled up to small little 2-bedroom house for, miles and miles and miles. Like there are larger houses with larger lots that are spread. It still baffles me that they haven't been able to see something go by on that day at 2 in the morning and some change.
yeah. Well, I took into, because I always say these houses are far back off the highway. Now we did
Hmm.
see that one, the new footage that came out. That house had a pretty good camera, close
Yeah.
enough to see a lot, and it was a good lighting and all the things you'd want it to be. Um, whether it was relevant or not was different. But how many of those do we have in this case, right? Where
Right.
we have that clear image like that? Because a lot of them are like Nancy's, far back, the enclave in the front door, just the Ring camera is not going to see a lot. Um,
Hmm.
so that always is bothersome because, but then once they leave the neighborhood, you don't have a vehicle of interest at one of those entry points, right?
Right.
And exit points. Was there not a big red light there? But then again, if they're not recording information, I, how long did that information last on the damn camera? Okay. So this is Camino Maravel, right? And they were FBI showed up there today, and they were walking around. And again, here's Campbell, right?
Hmm.
And here's the Zorella, and Nancy's house is this one. Escalante is right here. Um, so they're one street over. They come down. I hate when those things come up. All right. So they're back here walking around. But
Hmm.
one of the places they went to was right on the corner, and they went up into the house for a little while because I watched
Okay.
it on JLR's Live. And then if you go up another block from that, this would be the corner of Miravala and Camino La Zarella. We're going to go down to the street level in a minute and look around.
Okay.
But was this maybe a possible way out, they're thinking? Because it feels like they kept looking further back toward Campbell, right? When they were
Hmm.
asking everybody to upload their videos and their Ring cameras and whatever they have,
Right.
they kept referring in this direction as if that's what the way you would naturally go out. What
Right.
if they didn't? Are they just now considering, or are they following up on something they might know? I don't know. I have no clue.
Right.
What would bring them back there today at this level of the investigation looking around? So, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
I mean, initially it tells me that maybe they're starting over.
Starting over is a good, yeah.
You think, like possibly, like, they're like, oh well, we're SOL, we have no leads. Let's go back and see if, by the grace of God, they took uh, the road less traveled, so to speak, and see if we can pick anything up.
And if every time you look at these houses,
Hmm.
you can literally, you can really tell. I mean, even like that looks so much like Nancy's, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just the driveway alone,
Hmm.
um, as far as look, if you got right in front of it, you got nothing but the trees and such
Yep,
to
a lot
block
of
every.
brush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you have to go. You know what I mean? You can see something as it goes past here, maybe as it's zooming by, but what are you really going to get of it? Um,
Hmm.
I don't know what they're looking for. If this is like a possible, if they think that these could be possible routes out, as or if they just like you said, going back and starting over from square one, and uh, going further out maybe, or did something lead them in this direction? Because not to even have a car of interest at this point is kind of strange.
Yeah, and um, have you ever seen? There's a movie called The Place Beyond the Pines.
No, I don't think I have.
It's got Ryan Gosling, and he's like a he like does these bank robberies. One of the robberies that he does, he gets on a dirt bike and he drives away and goes right up the ramp into a U-Haul, and they close the U-Haul and drive off. Um, so I'm like, again, my conspiracy brain is going to. They have a long way they could drive to where they could be secluded. And if they're true professionals, maybe they got her into a separate car and then drove a different way or something like that. If we think this is multiple people involved,
Yeah, like so if you're like a professional criminal ring or whatever, and you're doing a legit kidnapping,
yeah,
you could do that. Absolutely. Take her away in one car and have that swap place, right? Where you hand her off, do the handoff, and into another car you go and you're gone.
yeah, because those major intersections, it looks like with the little bit of like Google Maps thing I was doing, they're decked
Mhm.
with cameras, but it's such a. I mean, you have maybe what a good 10-15 minutes before you hit any of those major intersections if you're not driving like a maniac, which I doubt they would, because you don't want to risk getting pulled over with Nancy freaking Guthrie in your car bleeding in the
I
back or
know.
something, you know.
Exactly. Now, but with that said, if you think about if I think about it, if she's not, because I have to remember she is elderly and she's gonna bleed easily.
Hmm.
If it wasn't that serious, right? Like, I'm not saying she's just not hurt that bad. I get it, she is. But if it wasn't, like, life-threatening, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
We can stop it, we can fix this. If you're legitimate kidnapping for ransom, you have no long-term plan. It's all short-term.
Hmm.
You're gonna do your negotiations, whatever you gotta do, and you're gonna be done, and
Hmm.
you're gonna move on. If or are you planning a long-term situation? So if you do, where would you take her when you left the house with her, right?
Right.
We've heard a lot about he's gotta be from the area, they had to know the neighborhood, they had to. Well, Koberger was only in town 3 months before he learned the lay of the land,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it can happen. Doesn't have to mean he's from the area.
Yeah, I mean, you could also. I mean, people have a phone nowadays. They don't really like. You
You're
can.
right, you got the Google address, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, like we're looking at it on, you know, uh, Google Maps. Hand to God, Salty. I'll tell you right now, that house was probably available on Zillow until all this happened, with
Uh-huh.
some interior pictures, and I think they pulled it.
I think they
Um,
scrubbed it immediately
I
for
think
so I
they did
could
too.
not dude, I have tried look, I I have the original architecture plans,
Hmm.
right? But no interior floor plan even.
Yeah,
Nothing and no photos, like you said, it's gone. Everything was gone.
because that was the first thing I did with the Tepe murders. Is I pulled
Mhm.
that house up on Zillow, and I'm like, I know
Oh,
it's
yeah.
there because I lived in Columbus, and I know that
Okay.
that's kind of like a gentrified area.
Right,
Gentrification
exactly.
is not the best term, but
No, it's the right term for that area.
they
It is what it is.
yeah they built a very nice expensive house on a cheap lot.
Yeah, they
um,
did. They
And
did.
yeah, I mean, you could go on Zillow, and it's scary to think about. Like if you've got someone's address, you could just go in, and there's so many pictures. I mean, hell, there's virtual layouts now where you can just virtually go and click through, kind of like Street View on Google Maps, and you can just go right through a whole house. Um,
When as soon as I, like Idaho 4 happened,
yeah.
we immediately we had everything, right? We were
Mhm.
in the house, and then we had a website was out there that had a 3D. It was interactive. You could literally go into the house
Yeah.
and walk through the house, and it's not it. They took it down a long time ago, but that's people are like, well, how would he know the layout of the house? It's that simple, guys. You Google it. Just like
Yep.
with like you said, the Tepe murders, because this was her ex-husband, not her current. He had never been in her home, but he
Hmm.
knew right where to go, didn't he? And where do you think he learned that?
Right. And I think I mean, they only tracked Koberger being by that house because of his cell data. So it's like, what if he left a cell behind and went and took took a Kodak camera, one of those old disposables, and just walked through the house when no one was home and took pictures of it inside or something. Like the possibilities are just endless. I,
Endless.
and
But there was
I'm
that
with
house
you.
was easy to access, right?
Right.
We wondered from the get-go once we realized all the parties that were taking place and how
Yeah,
many
that too.
we saw cops come to the door and none of the owners would even be home. So what's the chance the guy walked through that house one time? Pretty good, right?
Yeah. I
But
mean,
The Tepe murders was a little different, right? When would he
right.
ever have the opportunity to access that house? When would anybody have the opportunity? Now, employees would have had the opportunity to access Miss Guthrie's house outside
Right.
her family.
Right.
But like back to your point, prior to this happening, those floor plans would have been absolutely available and pictures of that interior of that home.
Hmm.
You would have known if that bedroom was located outside that sliding glass door, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, and then if I remember correctly, I don't want to get this wrong, but Koberger was also he was like following them on Instagram, right?
Well, that's debatable.
Okay. Yeah. I
It's
mean,
not confirmed anywhere.
yeah.
Never been confirmed.
So
Uh,
if if he was, or if their profiles were public, I mean, um, how many pictures were taken in that house? Like how many? I wonder how many like
all the
pictures.
time.
I wonder how many
They
pictures Savannah has with Nancy inside her house. Like, because you're probably gonna go visit your mom, right?
Nancy herself had photos out on social media of
Right.
herself with the dog. Savannah used, the social media stuff as well. It was, and that's why a part of her probably feels extremely guilty and to some extent, especially if you consider this could be my fault, right? Not directly, but
Hmm.
this something because of me, this could have happened.
Right.
Here I am putting my mom and our life on display. Certainly didn't help. Not
Right.
It's not her fault, but that's just the nature of the beast these days.
Yeah. If someone's gonna be terrible, they're gonna find really unique ways to be terrible, and
Yeah.
you gotta live your
Well,
life no matter what. But yeah, it's
well,
just
going back to even like Koberger, like because there was never confirmation he followed anybody on Instagram, right? That was a
right.
report put out by a certain data company that claimed they got that information very early on, but nobody knows. But what we do know, according to court documents, is he was scrubbing his phone, he was using VPNs, and he was using data wiping tools. But what they did discover was the browsing history, and he was looking at hundreds of college girls,
Right.
but none of the victims turned up in those searches. So he was scrubbing that part, right? But there was all these other girls that were. You can stalk from your phone, like you said.
Right.
You can get on
Yeah.
your PC, and you can get a lot done on your PC if you know what to do.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I obviously I think Brian Koberger's the guy, just personally, but I um
Me too.
if you're a young guy in your 20s, and you were to go look at like the average young guy in his 20s search history, it's going to have a lot of girls from Instagram
A
that they're
lot.
you check it out or whatever.
Exactly. It,
Um,
right.
yeah, even my girlfriend, she'll look up like girls she went to high school back in the day, and she's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this one got engaged," or
Yeah, I mean,
she's
it
kind
can
of a
be
mean
very
girl, but
common. It
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So it didn't prove anything, right? It just showed a pattern or a history that he liked to look at
Yep, opens up
girls
the
on the Instagram,
possibilities.
right? Right.
Yep.
But there was none of the victims on there, so that, so
Yeah. Yeah, and
but
then one other, sorry, two other
no,
things
go
real quick.
ahead.
The first is I went and visited the house where the Stevenson murders took place in Florence,
You
Kentucky.
No, you did not.
I did, I
Really?
did. And I'll tell you what, you could set up a picnic in that back little brush area behind their house, and they would have no idea. So it's like little things like that that, like, you can easily case a house.
Okay, we gotta have a whole conversation about that visit.
Okay.
Holy
And then,
hell.
and then my second point, to another related thing, in Delphi, uh, part of the reason why I don't think it's Richard Allen is because that man in that video, assuming he's the killer, walked over that freaking bridge very easily with little to no effort, little to no hesitation. He's walked that bridge before. And he also had to know that those girls were going to be on the south end of the bridge. I will take that to my grave.
I agree.
Right. And so when you talk about the commonality of like people having been there before, I think Delphi is a little bit different because if you pull up the Monon Bridge on Google Maps, you just see that it's a bridge. When you're there and you're standing on the bridge, and I've done it myself, and you look down, I might be a little biased because I'm like deathly afraid of heights. It's not the easiest thing to go, okay, well, I'm just going to casually walk across this like like I'm walking on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's a different dynamic. So that was my kind of whole point on like there is some credence to like people being familiar with the area, but there's also you have to take into consideration how easy it is to case a joint remotely
Right. Well, 'cause
nowadays.
I said that when Delphi first happened, right? I
Right.
know rural areas,
Hmm.
but I also that because I do, when I realized the situation of where they were at, right? I was
Right.
like, wait a minute, where's the closest like highway? Tourists gonna get off here? What are we doing here? And I'm realizing what this is. Where I live in the country, you got to know what's out there to go out there,
Yep.
right? You're not just gonna stumble off the interstate and gas up and go, oh, I'm gonna go right here.
Uh-huh.
You gotta be looking for it and know what you're doing, right? Or you're gonna get lost in all the things. So, but when it comes to places like this in a neighborhood, that's different. Like even with Coburger's situation, that was like two towns right next door. Nancy lives in a secluded neighborhood where it's dark, but it wasn't like the other places, right? Like a Delphi situation in the woods. And even Bill and Peggy were in their home, and Bill had a pacemaker as well, didn't he?
Yep. Bill had a pacemaker, and he
And didn't they determine his time of death? Because maybe you can help refresh me on that. What was it to
uh,
do with his pacemaker and the time of death? There was something about his medical device
I'd have
that
to look
helped.
that up. I'll look it
Yeah,
up
I
real
gotta
quick.
go back and revisit that myself. Because as soon as they said pacemaker with Miss Nancy, I was like, wait a minute. Bill had a pacemaker. Bill died. So I need to go look up those
Right.
details, right? Because I know there was something in the documents about his pacemaker, and them being able to tell certain things were happening when it was happening. Because their killer spent quite a bit of time in that house with them.
Yes, it was like the vibe was one of those old time what Peter Stack unsolved mysteries where they talk about people, just doing some heinous stuff and then helping themselves to whatever's in the fridge, like washing their
Yeah,
hands at the sink. That was kind of the same. Whoever did this, like, um, yeah, it had to have at least very much so known them and been very familiar with them,
very
in my opinion.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Like very comfortable to do some of the things that were being done. So, what was our level with the guy at the porch here at Nancy's? What was his level of comfort? Was this his
Right.
first time going into a home like this? And where would they have taken Nancy? Um,
Hmm.
if if you consider that it's something close or they live close by, how would that fit into a criminal kidnapping ring type situation, or even an obsessed person situation.
Right.
Does that mean they already lived in the area all this time? Or how does that fit into the theory if they lived close by? Do they have to live close by? Because it's not going to take long. If you set your sights on something, it's not going to take you long to case it out. Or, you know,
Yeah, you certainly don't want to be in a car with her for very long with
no.
that connected device. Bill Bill Stevenson had a, they don't know if it was a pacemaker, defibrillator, or another medical device capable of recording time, but they do know there was a device in his body that determined the time of death was between 1 and 4 a.m.
So maybe it was, yeah, because I knew they said it determined the time of death. And I was like,
Right.
what? So was it a pacemaker or a defibrillator?
Correct. Yeah.
Huh.
So,
They
but
never
again,
verified which one it was.
I don't, not from what I've seen,
Yeah, I
but
think you're right. That's what I've seen and heard.
what, one
Wow.
thing that stands out, obviously, growing up, mom tells you nothing ever happens good. That's good after 2 a.m. But
Yeah,
just the fact
right,
that,
right. Mama didn't lie.
right, or no, not at all. And we saw this, not only with Bill and Peggy Stevenson, but also, again, in this case right here, I
In
mean, her
Idaho
being
4 as well.
Idaho 4 as well. And that's also why Delphi is so odd, because the idea that two girls were unalived in broad daylight in a very, I guess, lightly wooded area where there's a cemetery that people could be at and you could hear everything from the bridge just doesn't make sense. So that's just something else to take.
Yeah, at the time of that whole thing, it didn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Yep.
Now, if you we got to have a whole Delphi discussion show based around what we're doing with what they're doing with the appeals now.
Yeah.
I, I haven't really done a catch up show on that yet, and I know we've got some interested people here that do follow the case with me. So what are the chances of this person being, if I'm going to go with, I got an elaborate, not even really elaborate, but maybe just a really smart individual that's like, I'm going to do a kidnapping, they could absolutely be from the area.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why not? Why not?
Right.
Right? Um, because you got a lot of options as far as where criminals would come from. Cali, Mexico, other states, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
Vegas, and you got Nevada out there. So if you're in town, because remember, back in November is when Savannah aired the All About My Mom show, right? My family and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then people keep talking about the gym show. The only thing about the gym show that I would look at is that's a large event with a lot of people, could provide a good cover if I'm coming from out of town.
Right.
I could blend in. Now, would you rent a house or Airbnb close to Nancy's so you don't got far to take her? And would you sit there and chill until, I don't know, time got better and then move her? Or would you just get her and take her away to wherever your location was at? And like you said, you don't want to go too far. That's such a high risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people are going to be looking for her in no time.
Yeah, and if it's a planned abduction, and this whole thing was like, the plot of this was, all right, we're gonna take her, we're gonna hold her, we're gonna demand a ransom via Bitcoin. Like, if that all lines up, you've got a really short window on a B&B rental.
Yeah.
And then, like, you're also looking at, okay, you're gonna leave evidence behind at this B&B, almost assuredly, to then take her to a third location, risk being caught with her after there's national attention on this, and then go to a second or a third location where you're going to leave even more, potentially trace evidence behind. If it's like a sadist who's obsessed with Savannah and like hates her to her core and just wants to see her suffer, and they're using the ransom as like a throw off, and Nancy's just no longer with us and she's in a desert grave somewhere, I could see the B&B being almost genius, especially with the gem show, because it's just unsuspecting. Like, and the burden for Pima County and even the FBI to go through all those rentals, only to
Yeah.
come up to a dead end to have nothing to cross-reference, because again, that DNA on that glove took us to some random, restaurant worker. I just, um, I, I think if there was a B&B or like some kind of rental that they took her to, I think they were gonna probably get this done and over with very, very quickly.
Yeah. Because I mean, there is a really good possibility there always been in Arizona. What if we go with like a stalker situation, could it be, because I'm thinking, who's going to be from that area that would want to stalk or
Right.
be triggered enough to stalk? Because I also posed the theory, I think it was yesterday or when I was live, was it today? I don't remember. I've got a little bit of a cold and I'm medicated, but I was thinking that, if this is somebody like in the industry, right, that felt slighted years ago, even by Savannah, and she's not even aware of it or whatever. Maybe she was and didn't think it was that big of a deal. Somebody who maybe interned for her at some point and felt some kind of way. If they're in the industry at all, New York, Los Angeles, you got the same types of people in these industries. LA is not that far from, Arizona compared to like New York where Savannah's from. Um, but then again, I don't know if they would go all the way back out to LA, towards LA with her, right? As a way out. Because once you hit Phoenix, you get hit right towards Los Angeles.
Right.
But there's a lot of rural area too. You got Big Bears up here. The Joshua Tree National Park is here and different things. Or could it just be somebody who already lived on the outskirts of town that is already a recluse type person and that nothing unusual is happening there because it's always that way there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's somebody that lives that close, why would they be obsessed? Does it go back to, is it somebody she knew from childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
That grew up with her? Well, oh yeah, you think you're all that. You did all this with your life and
Right.
I never succeeded at I don't know if I'm going to put them that close and being that familiar. What do you think as far as that goes? As far as the person being from the area, period.
I this is probably going to be really, really unpopular. I
It's
don't.
okay.
I know there was a lot of initial focus on Annie and Tommaso, and
Uh-huh.
I think that's fair in some regard, not to the extent that it was taken, right? Because Jesus, everyone was doing this side by side of Tommaso and the mask guy. I don't like that at all. I think that's all purely speculative and goes and nowhere. My concern is that we Savannah was looked at as a victim since day one. I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm not. It's just troubling to me that we've heard that the family's been cleared, but I haven't seen anywhere as to like exactly why.
Mhm.
Which is troubling to me. But we also like haven't. So look at the Tepe murders, right? We I went and asked Columbus police for, I want to say about 10 or 12 police reports of reported burglaries from the previous 2 months on that block. B&Es and burglaries, and there were quite a few that were like very concerning. There was like a couple reports of like people saying some guy randomly walked up and kicked the door multiple times to try to get it open, this, that, the other, only for us to turn around and realize that this guy had been stalking his ex-wife, who abruptly picked everything up and left, and the family almost kind of knew it was him without like really knowing, but just based off his previous behavior. I'm wondering if there's similarly something there with Savannah, where
Right.
maybe she wronged someone and then maybe that special came through, or maybe they've always known how important Nancy was to Savannah. And
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
listen, if someone goes after my sister, I will turn into a completely different person. I will
Right.
I will
It
go ballistic. You know what I mean? And
because
I'm
if
wondering if
you
like they
Yeah.
know she's important to them. So I'm, that's even
That
better
was the
than
best way to get to Savannah, was to go
yes.
right at the core and take her mama,
And
and
then
that's what
think,
I said the last show. I said the same thing because I feel like that you can't get to Savannah really. They may have tried like through emails or showing up at certain events and not when unnoticed. And
mhm,
who knows? They can't get to her kids, their security, whatever. But Mama is not quite that. But this person, I feel like if that's what we got here, would absolutely know that is the way to get to her at the core of her.
and what a way to stick your finger in the bullet wound to set up a
Right.
fake Bitcoin and give a little bit of hope that Nancy's still alive and play this song and dance and lead them on, only to almost virtually completely cut off communication. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah.
really if you're really that petty, I don't know, maybe I'm way off.
No,
I just
because it makes, because when the the ransom came out to the KOLD, and the family asked for proof of life, and then the proof of
mhm,
life didn't come. When the second letter came to KOLD, they wanted you to know, we are the ones who wrote the original letter, and here's how you'll know XYZ.
right.
But then the family's like, we need that proof of life. That never came. So that
Mhm.
was worrisome. Is okay, so what happened? Did something happen that wasn't planned, and you can't provide proof of life, and you're gone. You're long gone now.
Right, right.
Or, or is it this sadistic individual like we're talking about, maybe, that knows that is the absolute way to get to her, is to take her mother. And do they have a long-term plan?
Yeah, and maybe
And did
they're
they
so oh,
yeah,
sorry, go
and
ahead.
did the and did they fake these ransom letters to, like you said, throw them a bone a little bit, "I'm in control, not you." Because
Yeah,
if you that's when I know, if, like I said, the videos from Savannah, they shifted. They
yep,
went from talking to a ransom person to talking to an individual.
right.
So,
Almost
what
like almost if you sat someone down and had a beer with them and you're like, "Listen, this is where
Mhm.
we're at," like almost a little bit more sentimental, like I wanna try to connect with you on like a human level. Um, and I think that, oh my god, what was my thought? I'll get to it.
I do it all the time. No, I do that all the time.
I
I
know.
wonder if they found something in her emails between the times her videos were coming out, or if they themselves, the FBI, shifted as well. Um,
I hope they did. I'll tell you why, but I'll be like, right. I just need a quick minute. I'll
Go
be
ahead.
right back.
You go right ahead. Let me catch up with my chat while we're doing that. Um, yeah, it's torture rage. Um, Jeff, welcome back. We understand you think it's all politically driven, but we're not dismissing it. I just don't think a lot of us agree with it. I mean, that's okay though. It's not dismissed, but I don't know the angle as to why it would, take the lady. That'll get them. That'll teach them. That'll teach us that y'all can't do your job. Police. Well, Jeff, let's consider that theory. Undocumented workers hit that house, unalived Miss Nancy. Simple as that. Okay. What was their point? What was their point of that? Robbery gone wrong, I suppose. Possibility, I guess. Stranger things have happened. Hey,
Okay,
Danny.
here I am.
Okay, cool. Hey, if I miss, usually I say hi to everybody. Hey, Carrie, Danny, everybody in chat. I see you. Thank y'all for coming in. All right. Yeah. Other than there's no evidence of a break-in that we can see in any of the doors. We
Right.
finally figured out we got sliding doors on the patio out there, 2, 2 sets actually. Um, so then we have to wonder, well, how would this person get in? Also, I have to wonder, either theory I go with, and that's the Ransom or an individual trying to get to Savannah took Miss Nancy. Where does the guy at the door fit in? You like, do you know what I mean? Is he the lone kidnapper? Is
Right.
he the lone guy with a problem? Or is there somebody else driving the boat?
Yeah, I think Jeff M427, one of your chatters, just made that really good point. That's probably why we didn't see the cars, because it was further away, and that
Like
would
down
also
the
kind of
street?
supplement the radios to say like, hey, all right, got her, pull up, and
Yeah,
then
I
let's
can
get out of
buy
here.
that too because it's so dark out there. When you
Yeah.
pull up, you're gonna kill the lights, right? So you could absolutely be in the street, because then when you look at the photo, like y'all are talking about, let me get the one back up here. Here it is. That one that shows the driveway. Even you could be right outside that perimeter, right? And
Hmm.
with the headlights off, and that you're not going to see that car sitting out there. So
Yeah.
and that's why I was wondering, are they on the left hand side? Are they even in the yard at all? Are they
Hmm.
out on the road? Because the, the traffic, I don't know. Is there going to be a ton of traffic out there at 2 a.m.? Now, on that other street, there was two
Hmm.
miles away. They had a lot of activity throughout the night on their camera.
Right.
We don't know. So, would Nancy's camera see vehicles zooming past, right?
Right.
Like the headlights coming past at night like that. Um, but it wouldn't if a headlights were out completely. So, yeah,
Right.
they
Well,
couldn't
and
use their walkie-talkie to call down to their partner, "Hey, come on around."
on top of, I believe, I don't know if it's the city or the neighborhood had an ordinance around like no
The light pollution.
light pollution. Yeah, so that doesn't help either, because I mean, when you're dealing with cameras like this, the best thing for cameras, the best thing for your eyes is light to see things. That's how you get as much detail as humanly possible, other than the pixels and everything, which is a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
You
Um,
know,
they have the university out there, and because they study the astronomy out there, they have the
yep,
ordinance in place for
yeah,
the light pollution, so no lights. We have that on Pensacola Beach with the turtles, right?
yeah,
They're only allowed to have these green lights. It was a whole thing because the turtles, they come from the water to the shore following the moonlight to go bury and make their nest, and they
hmm,
mess up and they follow all the lights, and they're like, okay, we got to stop this. So it is extremely dark out there. So if
yeah,
there were headlights on and they're sitting out on that road, the camera's at least going to see the lights. We even saw that in the Koberger case when he's creeping around back there in Walenta. The
right,
camera at the King Roadhouse sees him back there because of his headlights, right?
right.
It's seconds before he enters the neighborhood. But we don't. Well, we don't see that in any of the video that we've been able to see yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I keep my lights on here. I grew up in Detroit and I live in Cincinnati now, and both cities can't afford to keep the lights on. It's not like
Mhm.
anything like cool, like students studying the stars or anything like that. We just can't afford it. But I mean, it kind of wakes you up to realize maybe you should have a light on. If we could go back real quick though to just Savannah real quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
and I don't want to say just Savannah, but maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be Savannah or Annie or Tommaso. Maybe it could be a distant relative. And it's just, I know it's probably unpopular, but I just don't want to rule it out. I'm a big um, hit for hire kind of, like, I think that's what happened in Delphi, but I think that it could also be a possibility here. The only reason I say that is because if the family was cleared the proper way, I hope that includes all of their electronic communications and
Mhm.
all of their financial activity. And we just haven't heard about that. And the motivation, um, I mean, Nancy's older. She needs daily medication. I think it's, you know, They
No, I understand what you're saying, like,
okay, you know where I'm
so
going. And again, I know
yeah,
like
I do.
probably a long shot. I hope.
No, we've talked about that a little bit here, like,
Yeah.
so going back to being the caregiver, was it a burden, becoming a burden?
Right.
Um, and then when they went through their, um, data, right? All the digitals that they got from their downloads from their computers and phones. And then they went through their financials, hopefully. Were there payments to someone, large sums of payments?
Right.
Was there communications with anybody about setting things up, right? Working this out? None of that appears to have been there. If it was, that what are they doing? Just waiting on further communication between the two parties to nail it? You know what I mean? I feel like if they had that, that would help lead to whoever was hired. But
Right.
that doesn't mean this guy wasn't hired at the same time.
Well, and I think, if I were to kind of catch hell for this take, my response would be I'm not confident that everything was thoroughly vetted. Look
Yeah.
at how passionately Nanos came out and said, not only are they cleared, they're the victims in this case. Well, my argument is that there's only one true victim right now, and that's Nancy, right? The second thing is look at how they left, or look at how the crime scene was originally secured. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but if JLR can order a pizza to the front door
Mhm.
where there's blood, we have a problem.
Well, multiple times people sent food and
Yeah, right. Um, and then the third thing is we still can't figure out um, where those ransom communications were coming from. What makes anyone think that we are able to track any kind of Bitcoin transfer at this rate right now to whoever that
right.
host was? So
Mhm.
I think when you take into the totality of those circumstances, I feel like it could still be on the table. And I'm not saying it's necessarily
I
Savannah,
agree.
right? Okay.
I can agree with that, on so many levels because they're of the unknown. Um, and some of the, FBI agents are retired are now having to confront why haven't they found the person writing these letters? And now the media is
Right.
circling back to that now saying, why haven't y'all found the guys who wrote the letters? Y'all told us it was nothing. We believed it. We bought it. We moved on, made a big deal about this DNA in this glove. What about those letters, right? And so they're having that conversation again. So that's when I revisited, um, the very first two, because the biggest thing that bothers me about the ransom letters is we need proof of life, and then that never came.
Mm-hmm.
But then I go on, well, what made them flip to we're taking that off the table and getting personal now? Did they find something in that avenue, like an unopened email from the past? And go,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh my god," right? Or was
Yeah.
there something in that communication that we don't know about, that
Right.
the first letters? Because we don't know all the details of those first letters. And how did this person manage to get in and out of that neighborhood without being seen, without doing a lot of,
Yeah.
recon ahead of time,
Yeah.
right?
Virtually undetected. Yeah.
Even
Um,
daylight hours, because you need to see with the eye and the daylight who, if they got a camera even attached to the house in some capacity. You could drive slow, no one's really gonna notice you unless you're creeping through their neighborhood, but, I
yeah.
mean, if you're just walking through that neighborhood, someone's probably gonna notice you're out of place. Because 'cause I'm gonna notice if I live there.
Yeah. I mean, that is I live on a corner lot.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you the amount of people that walk by. I know pretty much all of them. And there's always like one dude that's walking, and I'm like, where the hell did you come from? And
Right.
that's the true
I
crimer in me. I'm at the point where I'm like
me
logging
too.
what they wore in my phone.
No, it's like I'm, like, taking a fucking picture, like, my son gets home from work because I was living out in the country with my son, and there's, like, nobody out there in the daytime but me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody the ones that are they're at work, right? The one neighbor I had, she would be at work, everybody else is far away, like, large lots, fields in between us. There'd be this One day, this one guy comes down the road, backpack and all, and I'm like, okay, he's got on this. What time is it? Okay, I note that. I'm like, as soon as my son gets here, I saw a guy today walking down the street. He's like, and and I'm like, he didn't belong here. I don't know where he went. He was going that way. You need to get in the truck, go find him. No, I'm not. I didn't go that far, but that's what he was like. Thought I was going to say next. Is like, get in the truck and go find him. But yeah, I'm going to notice you if you're walking down my street or driving down my street or creeping down the street. I'm going to notice, but that's just me.
Yeah, same. My girlfriend's big on the Bardstown case out in
Oh,
Kentucky, and
yes,
then
Crystal Rogers.
yeah, Chris Rogers. She's
I
also
brought
got a
Tommy up yesterday, really, because I brought Tommy Ballard up yesterday as I go through my photos, getting ready to make thumbnails.
uh
Tommy's picture is right there, you know, and we
huh.
had this conviction finally in Crystal's case, and I'm just waiting on somebody to get charged in Tommy's case. So I feel
Yep.
your thank you, Keith's girlfriend.
Yeah, well, like I'm obviously fixated on Delphi, and she's fixated on that, and she's
Yeah.
uh is Israel Keys keeps her up at night.
Oh goodness.
Um, and the whole thing with the drive-through and everything. So my whole point in saying that is we'll go to these random places, and God bless her, she'll pull out her phone and take a picture of someone's license plate, and I'm like, what the hell are you like? We were walking a
That's our
trail.
girl.
Yeah,
We like her.
we were walking a trail like a couple weeks ago,
Hey,
and there were two cars parked in the lot like before we got on the trail, and she took two
yeah.
pictures of the license plate. She's like, I'm
Yep.
not she's like, listen, if I'm going down, they're gonna find they're gonna
Yeah,
find
that's
some
right.
breadcrumbs. So I'm like, yeah,
That's
smart
right.
like, yeah.
And that zoom on my phone is amazing.
Oh yeah, it's getting really good.
So good. Even don't live I don't care how far you live from me. I'm gonna
Yeah. Salty,
but
I have a question for you.
uh-huh.
And I've been meaning to ask, and I wanted us to get to like the right point where I could ask it. What do you make, if anything, of Savannah going back to the Today Show?
Man, oh man. I feel like she needs to take a moment and think about things. I feel like that's a big decision to make right now. Like, why do you even have to make it right now? I don't know if I would have the capacity to make that decision right now. Now, part
Mm-hmm.
of me might be like, I understand y'all need to go, the show must go on kind of thing. Do what you got to do. I'll get back to you when I'm ready. But with that said, I feel some type of way because she did show up back at the set.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this big, embracing of the friendships and all that. And
Right, right.
I get it. It's weird that Nanos is only giving interviews to NBC.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an angle that we're supposed to be noticing or not when I say NBC, because Savannah is employed by NBC. Also, I know there's a FBI guy out there who has said numerous times when he worked for that department out in LA that handled all of these stalker crimes that he couldn't tell you how many times NBC alone would reach out about these female anchors in this latest stalker situation. So then today, when I was reconning JLR's live stream, some
Mm-hmm.
people show up out there. They're miking up these ladies, and they're going to interview these ladies. I just kind of caught most of it, and I heard what he was saying, and they were miking up the ladies anyway, getting ready to interview them. But so when they started the interview, it was NBC, and it was like, oh, what are you, how are you here? Like they didn't know each other, but they came together. And when I looked, it was the lady who's been interviewing Nanos all this time on the NBC show. So I don't know if that's a piece they're going to air, if they're going to present it. If they do this, I'm going to really feel some type of way. If they present it as we're on scene and we're filming in front of Nancy Guthrie's home, and here's these women that here's what they have to say. It was all staged, and JLR caught it all on JLR video.
Mm-hmm.
Only JLR could do,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
that happens, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know why they're emphasizing all of that even? Why am
Yeah,
I supposed to be feeling all like NBC is the greatest place on earth to work for when I
right.
also listen to somebody else who has a whole different take on all of that. So I don't know. How do you feel about that? What do you make of it? I feel like it's weird.
I feel like it's weird. I feel like it's I don't know. You heard the rumors about how she was, potentially on her way out
Yeah,
before all this happens.
yeah.
That's a little troubling. My brain goes to, I wonder if they maybe secretly have a solid POI and they're seeing if her going back will bring them out of hiding, you know?
Okay, so
Um,
that's when I what I'm wondering too is if this is somebody tied to work related something.
mhm.
Is it a risk for her to go back and show, look at me, I'm fine, I'll be fine no matter what you did? Or
Mhm.
is it like you said, to bring somebody out of hiding? I don't, I've looked at it that way too. So I don't know how,
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know what to make of it yet, but that's a good point.
Yeah, because like I don't know, and everyone's different. I'm gonna totally acknowledge that. Um, if I had a loved one that went missing, and it's tough because it's like if you're a normal person, you're gonna go, all right, well, I'm sitting on a few $1 million. I don't need my job to survive. I can afford to completely indefinitely retire till my mother's found and bust my
Yeah.
ass on the side trying to find her. But then maybe I could leverage my kind of semi fame
Hmm.
to get more of the word out or, something,
To be able to reach that person
Yeah.
more, because putting the Instagram, because I also noticed her Twitter page became active when it had been inactive for a
Hmm.
while. With
Yeah.
her, I think the last video, she ended up posting that to X as well. And I thought, okay, she's really trying to reach somebody now. So is Instagram and Twitter enough? And then those things making the media rounds, right?
Hmm.
So if I go back before the camera where they're used to seeing me, will that somehow communicate? Because they when I read the documents, I was reading about the study on these people that may be doing
Hmm.
this kind of thing, how they will focus on what's being said to them from that person through the camera, right? You're
Right.
talking directly to me now, you're signaling me now. Would there, if she gets up there and acts kind of weird, we're gonna know something's up.
Yeah. We saw that with Elizabeth Short, like BTK. A lot of those guys are they're like, what the hell? You're giving recognition to the wrong people. Like
To the
I'm the
wrong
guy,
person.
yeah.
Right.
So, maybe it's a strategy that way. One of your mods, Rachel, makes a really good point. Like maybe it's to piss someone off, and I think that's on the
Yes.
theme that we're on. Like maybe they're just trying to just stir the pot a little bit and see if they could pluck a POI or suspect out of it. I don't know. It's just if that's not the strategy, and she on her own is deciding just to go back, and I don't know for how long it is. Like I don't know if she's regularly going to be back on, but that doesn't sit well with me.
Me
It's like
either. Yeah.
my mom is gone. She's likely unalived, but I still have hope that she is with us. I'm I'm gonna be Liam Neeson and Taken, like
Yeah, I'm
I'm
about
gonna
to
be,
start some kind of advocacy
yeah.
thing, some kind of search group thing. Something's about to happen where I'm going to pour my heart and soul into that, because so many families do end up doing things like that, right? To
Hmm.
help them cope and work through things, they also start things and become parts of things and help each other networking going forward.
Hmm.
That's where my mind would be, is even if you lost somebody 30 days later, you're still in that mourning process. Now, are you going to go back to work? Yeah, you're probably going to you got to go back at some point, but you're not. This is a missing person case don't know where she's at, and everybody knows about it, right? How are you going to go put on that fake shiny face every day that you've been putting on for a lot? I'm not saying it's all fake, but I those shows they cringe me. I get cringy watching that stuff. But how are you going to go pretend all of that? Especially if you go back right away. And how do you go back not knowing at all when you're like, okay, I'm back and we never found my mom, but it's okay, I'm here. I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, it can be done eventually, but I'm with you. It would be hard as hell right now.
Hmm. Yeah, and I sorry, Henrietta in your chat. Thank you, Rachel, for um addressing that.
What is it?
Just the rumor. I don't know if it's been confirmed that things were a little bit rocky between Savannah and the Today Show.
Yeah, so there's been rumors about that show for a long time about
Right.
all of them, even that Hoda lady and Savannah. There was even rumors that when Savannah was out with her throat surgery, and they had a guest host or whatever, the ratings went up, right? So there was like, do we even bring her back? Like, what is this? Some kind of what's happening here? Cutthroat stuff, right? It was behind the scenes. Um, Rivalries or something going on over there, but now we're getting told that no, we're one big family, we have each other's backs, we look at what we're doing for one another. That's where I'm like, well, what's happening here?
Right.
Is that part of the plan, right? You see what I'm saying? If it's even related to work at all.
Hmm. And I mean, like it's mind-boggling to think. The Today Show is probably naturally going to do that, even if there was a rift between her and them. Like, come out and say,
Yeah,
"Hey, we're all one" or whatever. So that that kind of approach that I'm taking is like that might be a bigger deal if it's true. If it's like, I'm not going to say it is, but
yeah.
um, yeah, I wonder. It's been sitting on me since I watched all of that and heard about it. If maybe they were trying to pluck something out of it to see if they could get something. I just still think
That
currently where they're at, it's such a long shot. I mean, I'm so
but
sorry.
no, you're good. You're totally fine with the dog. That's fine with us.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you to that point because I thought about it. Would that be an angle they would take? Let her go back. It's
Hmm.
strategic, right? It would
Hmm.
be strategic if she goes back soon. I'm gonna feel like that was a very strategic plan. But at the same time, I might run the risk of triggering this individual.
Hmm.
Will they think, "Oh, she doesn't even care. She just carried on with her life."
Hmm.
I feel like but they know what they're doing, right? If that's what they're doing. If that's what they're doing, I hope they know what they're I don't know that psychology part of it. I got some of
Hmm.
it figured out maybe, but not all of it. But
Yeah.
that's a gamble, right? Would you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, you've got a chatter in here. Hawkeyes loves nature makes a really good point. Maybe that's how Savannah knows how to cope, and maybe it's just completely unrelated. And she's like, you know
True.
what? I can't handle this anymore. I need to get my mind off of it, or I'm gonna just
Keep her
implode.
busy.
Yeah,
Exactly. Keep her
yeah,
busy. Get some normalcy back in the life, some routine back in the life.
yep.
Don't know how, like you said, will she even be back full time? It may be back on a part time basis, a couple times a week or whatever, or a little bit each day. Who knows how it will work out for her? I'm sure she'll make the best decision for her. But I think it's worth exploring. Is it a strategically planned thing? Also, um,
Hmm.
this also could be a coping mechanism as well, because sometimes you just need to dive in and hope for the best. And how do you do that? Just sit would it would I mean, do we expect her literally to sit at the kitchen table all day with a cup of coffee waiting?
Yeah,
I mean,
staring at a bunch of FBI agents waiting for an update. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's like, what do you do? There's no real in between, so it's a hard
right.
call for it's easy for us to sit up here and judge and say, well, but I agree with you this far in. I don't know that I could go back today. It might be a few minutes. It might not be at all. But especially if I got 40 mil in the bank, it may not happen at all, especially if I felt like in any kind of way what I was doing caused this to happen.
True, because then it's like, are you putting Annie at risk? Are you putting Tommaso at risk?
The kids, the
The
all
kid,
the
yeah,
things.
yeah, everyone, right?
You'd be a bit paranoid at this point.
Hmm.
I'm sure that security, we saw security go up around the house, and Annie's apparently as well got some
Hmm.
cameras, but we know that um, Miss Nancy's got a ton of new cameras. Savannah's beefed up all her security, especially where the kids are concerned and things of all that.
Hmm.
So if we're going to go with maybe a person disgruntled or whatever is feeling some type of way, how does this guy at the door tie into that? And we were reading in that document some research on obsessed people, and
Hmm.
this element about um, family members, right? Because I was like, is he a hired gun or the boyfriend of somebody or related to somebody? Which one
Right.
is, or is he the guy? Is he just the guy who became obsessed and knows her mama's the best way to get to her? This is all me, my idea, just me, and I got her at my house, and no one's ever going to know because I'm a recluse.
Yeah.
But I felt like there may be somebody else involved though. So who would that be?
Right. And I could, I, core TVs going crazy, all these media outlets. I mean, TMZ just had Coffin Daffer on, and she was talking about the cartels and
No,
like,
they did not have coffee.
yeah, I
I
know, like
haven't
it's
watched
not,
court TV in God months.
yeah, it's not the cartels, in my opinion, just because the cartels exist to do two things, which is make money and send a message, and they're really doing neither of those. Um, just that's none of
But
that adds
you
up.
know what it is? It's like they're all agreeing now because he hasn't been caught. This is a skilled person.
Right,
So where do skilled criminals come from? Cartels,
right.
kidnappers, blah 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 blah. Nobody's talking about obsessed person wholeheartedly. Like they're touching on the conversations in some of the channels, like the interview room with Maureen and Dr. Ann. They Brian Enton's tried to explore it some now, uh,
Hmm.
but they all go back to skilled individual hasn't been caught yet, but left very little at the scene. Da 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 da. Tried to cover up the camera with his vines,
Hmm.
but then they don't know how to explain why he was there.
Yeah, and the cartels are bad enough. We don't need to kind of have them be this ghost entity that we use as a straw man for every other case, because it's not just this case. I know we've talked about
We had it
Idaho.
in
I know we've talked
Idaho.
about
We had
Delphi.
them in Idaho. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always like, oh, could this be a cartel? It's like
Cartel's
Idaho
not
was
doing what all that was in Idaho wasn't cartel people.
no, it was Brian Koberger doing a Ted Bundy impression, is what
There
it
you go.
was, you know. And then like people want to say that like Delphi was the cartels, and it's like, okay, well, you have
How do they figure, right? I mean,
you have a meth fueled white supremacist group in your backyard that has a lot of incriminating evidence against them, and their past history is very relative to the nature of that crime. I don't think we need to say some folks traveled up from Mexico because there was a drug turf war in a random small town in the Midwest. And am I saying it's impossible? Absolutely not, right?
right.
But what I'm saying is go where the evidence is, and I
Yeah,
think we have to be very careful. Tying it back to Nancy Guthrie is that like we've already heard so much stuff in this case that's been like disproven,
true.
um, and it just that being the icing on the cake would just be terrible. But nonetheless, I think I think currently where they're at, look, Nanos is doing now what he should have done in the very, very, very beginning with he's sending 5 people to the FBI field office. I think he's sending like 4 detectives and like a
Yeah,
sergeant.
yeah. Like it's four or five. He's
That's
sending.
like I just,
as
when
part of his task force.
there's
Yeah.
something with being a ISP or a state police superintendent, or being the sheriff, or being the chief of police, to where, like, if you don't have stuff like this happen often, eh, you gotta kind of say, hey, we need the expert people in this to come in. And that was my biggest problem with Nanos, is like, I just think he wanted to be the front facing hero of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he realized, or maybe he did realize and didn't care, that he was getting in the way a lot more than he was helping.
He messed everything up, and
Everything.
he was one. He just that was his thing. He didn't want to turn anything over to the bigger guns, and they when they got here, they're like, look, step aside, you know.
Yeah.
And pretty much he's done that, because I don't think, no, him having just very few people now on the
Mm-hmm.
case really isn't a surprise to me at this point, because he's done all he released the crime scene, from the jump. So they're just going to be doing boots on the ground, whatever I feel like the FBI instructs them to do at this point. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot of the investigators still are with the FBI. A lot of whatever is being analyzed through the FBI. It's all in their hands, no matter what he wants to come out here and say. They don't ever come out and say, we're in charge, we're going to do press conferences, and we're going to keep you informed. They don't care what we think.
Right.
They're in charge. They've been in charge for a couple of weeks now.
Yep.
They're the only
Yeah.
ones doing any work in this case.
And I think that I would bet money that there are members of the county sheriff, investigators, even officers, that they probably opted to work with the FBI more than Nanos wanted them to, because they knew they were just, they were how do you say, ahead of their skis, so
Yeah.
to speak, right? I don't know.
Well, not everybody in the department cared for him to begin with, and I
Right.
think that it's not so much the guys on the ground. Maybe, I don't know what we know they were not a very experienced homicide team that was called in the first night. I don't know much about their crime scene technicians that were dusting for fingerprints and DNA and all the things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we know that the sheriff himself didn't consider the outside. We see blood, okay, we got to test it, but other than that, we're like, we don't know what this guy did. So,
Right.
you know
Right.
then the FBI comes in and they do their thing. What I'm sure they went through all the inside of that house and took their own samples throughout that house, right? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're the ones that found a mixture. Maybe it wasn't him at all. Maybe he did. Who knows? We can't make heads nor tails out of what that guy says. But I have to have faith that they did come in and sweep the house on their own and collect things just like they did outside. And when they were looking around outside, walking all over the property at Nancy's and the neighboring properties there, doing the same thing over in Annie's, it was not like a grid search where they're searching for somebody, or any item or anything. It's like they're just walking around and they're looking, and they weren't looking for the manholes to the water tanks or whatever those was, because the lady who claims that she gave the FBI the tip that, oh, the roof is super white, it had to be painted recently, go check it out. That would mean a
Mm-hmm.
worker was there recently. She also said she was the one who suggested they search those water tanks. There was in
Mm-hmm.
the article that I had read. And
Right.
so, but what were they looking for as they were scouring around? Because you could see them on the drone footage looking over the brick wall, or from the between the pool and Nancy's back neighbors. They're looking over. They get out there with their flashlights. They're looking in the brush. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm like, what in the hell are these guys looking for?
Mm-hmm.
And that was right after the second ransom note. And I don't know if somebody claimed they left something out there, or you'll find this. That's how you'll know this. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't figure out what they were willy nilly. Certainly, it wasn't looking around scouring for gloves.
No. No.
They had one
I think
person
maybe they
tossing
were.
out gloves. Y'all play follow the leader. Who can find the glove I dropped? Right?
Yeah. Maybe it was a general canvas of, like,
Right.
Walk around. If you find anything, blow a
Right.
whistle and everyone stops, and
Like,
we
part of their
hear it.
regular, sweep that they would do when they come in.
Right,
It
right.
feels like a lot of that was happening, right, when the FBI got there, because 'cause we're like, "Oh my god, they're back at the house, they're back at the house. They're over
Hmm.
here doing this, they're over here doing that." All these things were happening. It feels like that's what would have happened
Hmm.
if they had come in from jump, right? So
Right.
maybe that is part of it, because it wasn't like a formal grid search, but then again, well, they didn't have red Solo cups in their hands, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
Lord help us all with that.
Jeez. I mean,
It's it's wild that to think that this far into this investigation that they still don't have any leads that are solid, that we know of.
yeah. And also, I mean, the more people who are involved, breeds the likelihood that more, that there is someone who could talk.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering if it was more than one person, if it was maybe just strictly at two, maybe three of like a core group of, and you see this in heists too. The people get caught in like planned bank robberies because they bring in an outsider who they don't know and they don't trust, but they have like a particular skill. So like
Exactly.
a good getaway driver, someone who's good at drilling safes, someone who's good at calmly talking to a teller to make it like look like they're not robbing the bank.
Yeah.
Those are always the people who flip, always. And sometimes the other people get to them and kill them off before. Sometimes they don't, and everything gets out. So I'm just wondering if they limited this to a very core group of, more than one, but not more
So
than
that
much.
made me what you just said made me wonder already if this guy right here was still
Hmm.
with us or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if he's the hired gun at the door,
Hmm.
that's all he was. No, does he even have a empathy in him, right? An
Right.
ounce of it. Um, so he's not going to care about the victim, um,
Hmm.
if he's just the hired person. But does he have a connection to the person who wanted her?
Right.
And how deep is that connection?
Right.
Um, and is this the person you need to get to the answer? But to get to this guy, you got to, this guy's implicated. He's at the door, right? Is
Hmm.
$1 million enough to make this person, even if they gained some empathy and realize, say they are related to the person or really connected to the person that wanted to take Nancy out of the house, and they're
Hmm.
just the ones that went in and did it, would they within time start to realize, hey, what they did and what they're doing, it really isn't right. There
Hmm.
there really is something wrong. But if I turn them in and free this old lady, I'm gonna go down, $1,000,000 or not. What do you do?
Hmm.
I or how deep is that loyalty? What kind of loyalty would that be that would be so strong you wouldn't flip on the person? So I don't know how to put this person at the door as the lone wolf kind of guy if I'm doing either theory, what it would ransom or obsessed person.
Hmm.
That's where I get stuck with this guy.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think also the fact that he was so calm walking up to that door.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he stopped and saw the camera and went, "Oh, shoot, I can't believe I forgot about that." It was like, "Oh yeah, camera's there. Gonna grab some vines." It was just, the flow of it was very,
Oops.
I don't know. Just how do you see that video and then come out and say, this guy was sloppy." Like, he it was
Yeah.
just very, the way he walked up, the way he knew where the I mean, I don't put much stock into him knowing where the step was because there's just steps and he had a flashlight and
Well, he when he went to approach, I'm gonna try to pull that video up. When
yeah.
he approached that step, he bites that light.
Yep.
So he knew that step was gonna be there, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Maybe he turned it on just in case because he was approaching the archway, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it almost felt like the timing of when he bit the light, because it goes off right as he takes that step up. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I would expect that there was some surveillance going on. Whether you live there or not in the area, you had to get to know the lay of the land
Right.
around that home. So they are going to know that step is there, and they're probably going to know that camera is there if they really put a lot of thought into this and did a little bit of surveilling.
Yeah. Did their
If
did their
you're,
Zillow research or whatever? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he felt incredibly comfortable, like he had been there before. Was
Mm-hmm.
my take on that.
Yeah, and you've got, of course, these wonderfully smart people in your chat saying that he was very comfortable. More than likely, he knew she was alone too,
I
or
think so.
they knew. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they were watching her for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
to see if it was even feasible to do this, right? Does
Right.
she live with somebody? Now, if they had watched the Today Show and all that stuff that Savannah had done, like if they were like obsessed with her and had been watching her, there's no way they did not see that show back in November where they showcased her mother and how she
Mm-hmm.
still lived in Tucson and all the things. So if they start looking at, it's not going to take them long to figure out she lives alone. But
Right.
now learn her routine. How do you do that from her neighborhood? Where do you sit to surveil in that fashion? Like
Mm-hmm.
even that night, Nancy wasn't home. She was out to dinner,
Right.
but she came home, right? Granted, if you're not going to stay out all night partying, if well, maybe not. But you're 84, you're coming home. Did they know what time she got home? What was their indication that, hey, she's finally home and in bed, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. How did they know that like Tommaso didn't stay there with her?
Or, I mean, with Koberger, we see him circling the prey before he ever
Right.
does anything.
Right.
So, did this person know Nancy wasn't at home?
Mm-hmm.
They would have to have known she left in the Uber to go to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
They would had to have known when she got back. Unless they didn't even know that part at all. They just assumed she was going to be home like most nights. And if she does go out, she's always home by say 10 p.m.
Right. Like
Right?
that
She's always
pattern. Yeah.
right, her pattern, her
Her
normal,
routine.
because I don't think she would be out well past 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Her friends like she wasn't going to the movies or any of that stuff anymore. So because she didn't like climbing the stairs anymore. So yeah, learning her pattern of behavior probably wouldn't be too hard because I've tried, even when I tried to figure it out with the Koberger case, how did this guy learn about this house and learn the lay of the land and learn all the things? And it was easy because the way that
Mm-hmm.
house was situated, right? With the Willenta Road behind it and all the things that you to look at there, it was easy. But with Nancy's house, it's a little bit different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
with the, let me get this pulled up. You can only really see the front of the house, right?
Yeah. Well, then now that I'm thinking a little bit more about it, like obviously that Idaho house, that might have been a little bit tougher for him to figure out because, and again, it was still, what's her name was still up with the DoorDash and whatever, but he had to kind of time that to where, your party house, like what's the likelihood that someone's going to be awake 24/7 in that house?
I know.
It's a lot higher as opposed to Nancy. It's like there's no shot that Nancy's going to be doing anything other than sleeping at at 1:45 to 2 in the morning.
Right. And in the Idaho case, unfortunately, it was being posted throughout the day and night where we're at. And
Mm,
the grub truck feed
yep.
was well known to be live.
Yeah.
Was there a chance that was being watched and like, oh boy, I don't know, right?
Hmm.
But with Nancy, how do you do that, right?
Right.
Unless you're sitting out in the front in the street, because we know directly across from her house there's just that one little road. I mean, we've
Hmm.
seen all the media out there. We've seen the way this it's laid out there. There's nowhere really, and you can't. And if you drive the street behind Nancy, that's just a cul-de-sac that leads to some houses, right? There's no,
Yeah.
it's not a through road or anything like that.
And it's not like there's a wealthy distance between those houses either. Like you're not gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna sit in a parked car and what have binoculars and try to see if you can see anything through the back
Yeah.
of the house. Like it just doesn't,
You can't, but from the way her you would have to be on that cul-de-sac road, and someone's gonna notice you sitting
right.
out in your car with your
Hmm.
binoculars. Now, the only thing odd is there is that darn treehouse between the behind Nancy's and another house.
Hmm.
I have no clue if it's even got a floor in it, you know what I mean? We can
Right.
see it from the drone footage, but that's about it. You could climb up in there, I suppose, but where you gotta go park your car somewhere to walk up in there and all the things, right? So I don't
Hmm.
know. But then
Yeah.
again, where is this car gonna be? So here's the video released on the FBI's YouTube page. I don't know if this one doesn't start from the time he actually walks up for some reason, where he bites the light. See, here's where I was talking about. You can see him grab with the bottom of his hand,
Hmm.
and it's like he can't. It didn't come off.
He was trying to pop it, and he was like, "All right, what can I use here, real quick?"
Yeah, and he shined his light when he looked down to the left. He had his
Hmm.
light, and he's going to bite the light right there. He's looking back. He bit it again. Or, hey, how come there? I hate this one.
The podcast episode
Yeah.
you were
Good Lord. Um, that was not the full one for some reason on their website.
Yeah.
But when he walks up to that porch, he does bite the light. So I don't know how much time and effort was put into casing this. And even when the floodlight got damaged, going back to that, when did that occur? Things like that. So we
Hmm.
don't know how long they surveilled this house before something was done.
I just look at how. I mean, I would be. Oh, okay. What can I grab? Like almost in a panic. He was just so.
It,
If I find something, I'll find something, and it's very odd.
because I think that he did he feel like he could, let me get their other one of the other version of that with that particular part. Did he honestly feel like he was going to be able to just pop the camera loose? I don't
Yeah.
know how easy. I have no idea how easy they are to get off. I've heard you need a screwdriver. I've heard this. I've heard that. I see a bracket still there and a camera that popped into that bracket, but I don't know how secure that is, right? And I'll like see
Yeah.
there's the well, that's not the up close one, but the
Ring
bracket.
has like a special kind of key that it's like a plastic key, and you push it under and you pop it off.
Where'd it go?
I don't know about Nest though.
Okay. Because see, that's a Nest camera that we
Right.
now learned, and the bracket's still there,
Yep.
right? So the camera got taken away, and Ashley Banfield reported smashed. But let me, but like you said, he's so it's like no, he's so casual about it.
It's just, and it's like to. I mean, that tells me he or someone maybe they would have to know that you know Nancy or Savannah or whoever aren't necessarily maybe getting push notifications to their phone, like when it detects motion or something like that.
Now, unless this one detected motion, right? Well, we explored that a little bit. Like, were they
Yeah.
getting these notifications about this detections? Right?
Right.
Um, it was Nancy the only one getting them?
Right.
Was she asleep when she was getting them?
Right. Right.
Or because they're happening in real time, I would assume.
Yeah.
And did her family were they set up to get alerts in real time as well? That we don't know.
Yeah. Because you don't need a subscription for alerts. You can just get
Yeah,
alerts.
right. My friend, Dolphin that comes on, she, w the deer, she gets alerts for when the deers come up
Yeah.
and things like that,
Like
right?
a trail cam.
Yeah, but she has her camera set up in the backyard, and, yeah, she gets alerts. So here's the guy when he comes up and grabs those vines,
Hmm.
and like somebody said in the chat earlier, these vines are super strong, and they're flexible because he bends them. You can see him bend them over, um, and the thing is he's touching them with those damn gloves with possible saliva, and then
Yep.
the sheriff is like, "I'll just leave them there next to the blood and next to the rug."
It's almost like the same kind of guys that didn't collect the sticks that were found on 2 dead teenage
Oh my
girls.
god, yes. It's so reminiscent of the sticks, right?
Oh,
Those sticks are irrelevant, toss them aside, we'll get them later,
yep.
you know?
Yeah.
Here, they didn't even bother to get these later, did they?
No, that's wild.
I think that rug is still laying there, the outdoor mat.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
it's
and
got
the vine.
JLR's pizza grease all over it. So,
Oh, good lord, everybody's DNA poor Brian Enton's done got in the mix now. He's in the mixture. They're gonna be pointing the finger at Brian Enton next. They're gonna be, like, knocking at his door, his wherever he's staying, "Sir, your DNA has shown up at the crime scene."
man,
He's
he's been hustling though. I've learned more
right,
about the United
right?
Cajun Navy than I ever anticipated I would.
Oh, no, 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 you don't even know. That Brian just Brian scratched the surface. No, there's a lot about the Cajun Navy. They're doing a little bit of damage control too by reaching out to people like Brian Enton and
Yeah.
getting their stuff heard. I have no ill will to them. Good, if they find people. Hey, I'm all for it.
Right.
But I, yeah, yeah. All
I'm
right.
with you.
So this guy is at the door
Uh-huh.
again. We don't know that he was able. What if he didn't know there was cameras inside the house? And like you said, going back to what you were saying, for how did he get in there? Did he know how to get in there? Did he already have access to in there? And
Hmm.
how do they know certain things without like an inside information type thing?
Right.
Um, and cops had to investigate. Not cops, it's like Nanos and team, but investigators like FBI obviously had to wonder um, who could have provided inside information, which
Right.
also goes back to the pool people, the landscapers, a housekeeper that could have been in there.
Yep.
Any of those people could have had a way to get insider information, but this guy does seem very comfortable. um, I just didn't get the impression he was trying to cover this damn thing up. Like, really, how does this guy really think that's going to work?
No, I thought again, I thought that it was a possibility until you said he was using it to pull the camera, and I immediately like a switch flipped in my brain. And I said that that's the likely reason he was doing that.
Does it? Because I'm not seeing things right. It does kind of look like that's a possibility, at least.
Of him using the vines to pull the camera?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because you know what tells me that
See, right there, he's bending them,
he's trying
right?
to fix it over top, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He's going to come in from the top of it, and he needs to bend that to the shape of the camera.
right. And this is
But
after he
yeah,
already stuck his thumb under it to try to pop it up.
yeah. But
Right.
yes, yep. And then we don't see what happens, so we
Right.
don't know if he succeeded, right? In
Right.
popping it off with the vine, or did he give up, drop the vine, and smash it, and all the little pieces came out with it perfectly?
Hmm.
uh, Mike Ruiz, whatever his name is, from Fox News is reported seeing some like glass pieces down there by the shrubbery stuff.
Mm.
It's hard to tell from like fragments or whatever. It's
Yeah.
hard to tell from the images that we can see because even zooming in, it's really hard to tell. But
Hmm.
I didn't see evidence of anything being smashed and broken. Brian Enton's never mentioned it.
No.
He's just mentioned blood and the shrubbery, right?
Yep.
So it appears he might have succeeded in popping that camera off with that vine. We don't know. It goes blank and the camera goes offline at 147.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming that's at 147 when he's out there fooling with that camera.
That specific.
And I'm assuming that's the camera that goes offline first, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. That
No,
could be the 212 camera for all we know.
I believe 1:47 a.m. a doorbell camera at Guthrie's home was disconnected by a masked and gloved individual. So it's like very vague. It's like a lot of these publications will say motion is detected. It's like, okay, where?
Yeah,
Like,
they call it, some say motion detected, some say person detected.
right.
Either way, it's a motion, right? And
Yeah.
that occurred at the 2:12 AM.
Hmm.
But that we have had no confirmation as to where that camera's at. Now, that came directly from the sheriff's timeline in that last press conference they gave, where they
Hmm.
gave an updated timeline and everything. That, so yeah, 147 is when we have the doorbell disconnects, and then at 2:12 we have a camera detects motion.
Hmm.
16 minutes later is when we have the pacemaker disconnects from the Apple Watch at 2:28.
Hmm.
A total 41 minutes out there. So,
Yeah, because she's already well out of the house by then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the between the two, the 147 doorbell disconnects, 2:12 camera detects motion, you got two cameras on the property then
Right.
that you're looking at. And what does this other camera show that we haven't seen yet?
Right. And I'm wondering what the holdup with that is, because they were able to get the front camera. I mean, I still, my theory, I think they held on to it until Cash got out there, but that's neither
Yeah.
here nor there.
Oh, we just got it a couple of hours ago. Here
Yeah.
you go, but BS. I'm not buying that either.
So weird.
Because
Google got it
yeah,
right out of the server as the plane landed in Tucson, but
yeah, because
uh,
the day before that, Savannah came out and was a public plea, we're going to need your help.
yeah.
The FBI also released statements that day how they were going to need the public's help. We were primed for the next day. We're going to release a picture for y'all, and we're going to need your help.
Hmm.
They can play somebody else. They're not doing that to me.
And maybe, and it's, again, it's just, it wouldn't look good either way. Maybe Google was telling the FBI, like, hey, snowball's chance in hell that we're going to be able to pull this out of the back end system, and then they did. I mean, again, them going back to pull more doesn't give me faith that they're going to find anything from that.
Yeah, and if they can scratch, as they call it, this
Yeah.
ring cam, what's up with the other 212 cam, wherever it's at?
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if it's got something to do with the ones that were on the guest house, because those were different. They're not. They don't appear to be Nest cameras.
Right.
They're very different than what's on that front door, and they both have a little solar panel attached. I don't know what their capabilities are. If they're just for her to view the wildlife, if
Yeah.
it's just like real-time viewing only, or if there was a subscription. We haven't heard anything about those
Yeah.
cameras.
Maybe it's dummy cameras that, like, you
It
know,
could have been. I have no clue, and it
right.
bothers me that we haven't heard anything else about those cameras, right? And
Right.
when I've nosed around to some of the reporters, I'm like, "Hey, did y'all notice them when y'all noticed the floodlight damage?" Because, well, I would have noticed there's 2 cameras on this building. Lady disappeared. I'm nosing around the property. I got blood on the front porch. I noticed a busted up floodlight. I'm noticing 2 white cameras on the guest house as well.
Hmm.
I'm like, so I'm waiting on clarification as to, yeah, if they were even there at all. I went back and looked at photos from the very beginning, trying to verify to myself that they were absolutely there the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And I
I
can't
think
confirm it. I can't confirm it to myself.
every case has like that one thing where you're like, did that really happen, or did I just
Yes.
think about that or dream about that happening?
That stuff that keeps you up at night and you're like, damn it, man.
I know.
Damn it, man. It's
I was talking to
crazy.
Spugs. I'm like, man, I gotta start keeping like my own spreadsheet that I can
You do almost.
think for myself.
Man, and with this case, it's gotten to the point. It's sad to say, when I go over to the bed at night, I'm gonna be watching something from the day, right? Somebody will
Hmm.
Intent will have a video, or Banfield, or somebody will have a video, and if they got a decent topic or something being interviewed, anyway, my notepad is like right there, so I don't have to be lazy and get up and go get it. I'm like, because I might need to take a note and remind myself, like, yeah, I'm like, I got a problem. But
Yeah.
I don't wanna forget, what I heard there, here, or there, and so we can also talk about things here, pertaining to that stuff, because there's just, this is one of those cases, you know, and I know everybody's like, well, she's not the only missing. No, she's not. But this just shines some more light on how easy it is for these people to disappear
Yes.
into thin air. And we can't wrap our heads around where they went and how even, you know, and why we
It's
don't know.
it's very emblematic of um again how there are great cops out there, there are great investigators, there are great
Yeah.
organizations. It's very emblematic of how some of these people can really, really mess it up. And I think it's also emblematic of how difficult these things might be to really like investigate. You know, a lot of people have a skewed idea of what DNA actually can and can't achieve. A lot of people have I mean, look at all these people plugging the screenshot of the Nest camera into like AI. I've seen this guy in probably 6 different colors of jacket.
Uh-huh.
And these people are convincing themselves that they're like contributing to the case, and it's like, no, you are actually doing the exact opposite.
I
um,
I pointed that out here in the beginning. I did show.
right? Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
have it anymore, but there was one that I had uploaded that anyway. That every photo, his hat was or his mask was a different color, right? Because they were
Yeah.
playing with their lighting. They're playing with their lighting. That's why I was saying because I've only tried to show the black and white official ones that we got, but like
Yeah.
this one here, I
Yeah.
said the light, just the light alone, lightened it up, period, just to see the driveway. But that
Hmm.
was it. There was no other thing done that I did. I don't need to. I don't want to.
Right.
It's like watching it the first time. I want to watch it the way it comes to me, right? And then if I need to slow it down, speed it up, do all the things, then I'll view it like that. But I need it first time, just like if it was going to be real time, like like so I can. What did I just see? Sometimes, but yeah, the way that people have convinced they've even done even the sketch, right? That was one of my butterfly, like the sketch, man,
Yep.
that was insane because we don't know if this guy has a scar,
Hmm.
right? We don't know if there's a freckle, a mole, we don't know.
Yep.
So that's a little dangerous
100%.
to put out a sketch like that, right?
100%. Because guess what? That sketch probably looks just like someone who has nothing to do with this.
You know it.
You know, and I just God, I was in Defense Diaries, like Bob and Allie.
Yeah.
They were sharing some of these pictures, and I'm like, all caps in their chat, like, quit sharing this AI slop. And they meant well. You know, I think they thought that there was like a color picture of this that had been released, and I'm like,
Oh, thought,
I
yeah,
don't think, when you got like 1,000 people watching you, I don't think you realize how much damage that could be done
yeah.
to that. But again, and I'm sorry to bring up Delphi again and again and again, but I went out there in December and I went and took pictures of everything and like walked the trail and everything. I wanted to kind of like just see it for my own eyes. And I was at a bar in Kokomo and I was playing it off like I had no idea, anything about Delphi. And bartender told me that that Richard Allen developed pictures of the crime scene at CBS and had them
Nuh-uh.
with him. And I said, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, I got to tell you, I just looked that up. That's not true.
Where
uh,
the hell did he hear that? Oh my
it's like
god.
just the way that rumor spreads like wildfire. The way you
Yeah,
tie that into like AI and how convincing it can be. It's like everyone, let's just chill and
yeah.
do the best we can to maybe stick with what we know.
Right, because there's
um,
even with the Delphi case, the Koberger case,
mhm,
there's things that are not facts that are out there.
right,
Even with the Flynn case we just covered, there was already a video almost within 24 hours of all that happening. There was a video on YouTube claiming to have information from the documents, right? Court
right,
documents that stated he was having an affair, and here's the text messages between him and the mistress, and here's her image, and here's her name. None of that was true.
right.
It wasn't even in the court documents, nowhere to be found. And then that lady, her mother had to call the cops because people were now showing up at her door accusing her daughter of having a affair with a man who murdered his wife. That's how fast it happened.
Right. You you have you have defense investigators in the Delphi case who are now saying that they solved the case because a man who is currently sitting in prison was talking to two other people who have been proven liars over and over and over again, that like said they were there and that they did this whole thing, and they're talking about this as if it's like gospel. And it's like, well, first of all, there's hearsay to it. Second of all, that was already mentioned in the motion to correct errors post trial, but the issue wasn't two other people confessed to this crime. The issue was there were handwritten letters given to the prosecutor and they were not given to the defense. That's the issue. That's Brady. And so it's like this is not, you're not cracking the case by getting, hearing statements from someone who heard from someone who is a known liar.
Well,
Let's draw the
why are
line
you?
in the sand somewhere.
If you're an investigator, why are you just now hearing about this? That
Ah,
was
how
my
do we
biggest.
go there?
Everybody else done heard about that a long time ago.
100%. But
Oh,
back to this, it's just, I feel like, um, listen, whoever they nab, if they do, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny, and there's going to be like, they better
so
have
much.
to high hell and back, evidence on whoever this is.
Yeah,
Um,
there's already a little bit of chatter about that, Keith, because of the way the crime scene was uh, contaminated, and not held appropriately as far as the investigation goes. Um,
mhm,
Early missteps in the investigation, all the different things that are going to come into play. I mean, we saw Ann Taylor in the Koberger case come in. I need everybody's training records. I need to know how you did this, and this, and why you did. She wanted everything, and rightfully
mhm.
so. So then that's kind of like standard for a lot of defense attorneys. Even from your crime scene techs, I need to know how thoroughly you were trained at collecting DNA and collecting evidence, all the things. That's normal. We have to sit through a lot. Remember Karen Reed trial, y'all? We had to sit through
100%.
we had to sit through all of their training, remember? So they go after
Well,
all the things, so there's a lot, like you said, that could be troublesome later on down the line.
yeah, I mean, are we certain Karen Reed would have gotten a second trial if it wasn't for those Proctor texts?
Exactly.
you know and in this case with us, let's say the IgG came back on that glove, or CODIS, whatever, right?
Yeah.
That glove that was 2 miles away. The first person I would be deposing as this person's defense attorney would be the city planner, and I would literally get them to tell me under oath, how much traffic goes through that intersection.
Right.
Are we talking hundreds? Are we talking thousands? Are we talking tens of thousands? In what given time frame are we looking at? Right? I just there's
That
so much.
2 mile away glove was very problematic for
Yeah,
for the prosecution, and that's why I am so surprised. What if it hadn't been a restaurant employee's DNA?
right.
What if it had been somebody else? And what if it had been someone they could tie to the scene? And they go investigate this, because once they got Koberger's name,
Hmm.
they also have to go back and investigate him and make sure we got evidence other than this IgG alone saying he's the guy,
Yeah,
right? And so they claim they were doing investigating him the whole time, but I'm not sure what the hell they were doing until they got that name. So they still got to go back and investigate. So what if that turned out to be the guy? I don't know if that would even be a problem coming to court. I mean, it's 2 miles away, right?
right,
The fact that it's not that guy's, that's a problem still. And I think even if it had been tied to the scene, or if they arrested somebody based on that 2 mile away glove, that was gonna absolutely be a big problem. Like you said, how many more people come through here, right? And
right.
if you can't tie my client directly to your crime scene, what are we doing here?
Well, and then like, what was the probable cause for Carlos?
We have no idea
We
yet.
Right, and I'm wondering if uh I would hate to say, I would hate to think that something nefarious like this would be done, but nothing's off the table. Um, what if we're not announcing that Nancy's gone, because that gives us an emergency exception to go in and raid raid these freaking people, because we're honestly still searching for a person who's alive, and that might give us a little bit more leverage legally to go in and say, okay, well, we found evidence as a result of going in thinking we were going to save someone from their abduction. I just don't. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how that looks, but um,
I don't
I
know
won't.
what kind of probable cause they had, on him
Yeah,
or Luke for that matter at
right.
that
I'm willing to
point.
bet. I'm willing to bet they got a tip from someone saying, "Oh, this looks like Carlos," and they were like, "Okay, well, Nancy might still be alive. For all we know, he's harboring. He's keeping her in the basement or whatever. Boom, let's go. We have reason to believe that she's still alive, and they're still holding on to that kind of approach."
And
I
it's
yeah.
odd too because they pulled Carlos over while
Hmm.
his house was being raided. Luke was the same situation. They pull him over while the house was being raided. So
Hmm.
Carlos's mother said they told her they needed to see if Nancy was in that house, and she's like, "I
Right.
don't know, there's no Nancy,"
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Butterfly said tip that she was in the house. So okay.
right, yeah, there was a tip about her being in the house or something, but I feel like Carlos might have got swatted, maybe.
Yeah.
But if he didn't,
Yeah.
Carlos, I feel like, probably showed up in a geofence warrant. And then I had to wonder, did
Yeah.
Luke show up in the geofence warrant as well? Because what prompted them to go specifically to those two houses? These guys seem to be totally unrelated to each
Okay.
other,
Yeah.
right? They're
Yep.
totally unrelated to each other. So why these two guys, two specific different locations, one close to the border, one down the street? What could they have in common in the same geofence warrant? Now,
Yeah.
a couple of investigators have said the same thing. I said from the beginning of this case, how broad was that geofence warrant? How far out did it go? And all of a sudden, you got a bunch of names in there. What belongs and what don't?
Yeah.
Now, Carlos drove a white van, right?
Right.
And there was early information about a white delivery van in the area.
Mhm.
If Carlos showed up in the geofence warrant and Carlos has got a van and they were able to pinpoint, okay, this is that guy,
Right.
did they use that alone to go raid Carlos? Because I hope it just wasn't, I know a guy who might have eyes that look like this guy on the porch. Because I
Right.
might have eyes that look like him, it's damn well better not be enough.
That's such a scary precedent, and
Yes.
Jeff in your chat again, another good point. Thinks they issued warrants for lesser stuff like failure to appear. I don't know Arizona law. I don't know if that would necessarily justify a raid. And
That's not
also,
going to
like,
justify that. No.
Jeff and Carlos are, as far as I know, they're not incarcerated. They weren't. I think
No.
or Luke was held for not Jeff. Luke was held for like 6 hours in his car while they raided the house, and then he was.
Yeah.
I think they dropped him off and said, "We're going to take your car," and he was
Yeah.
like, "Well, how the hell am I going to get home?"
They dropped him
Like,
off like near his home and he had to wait. And
yeah,
because
and
they
they
were
were
like,
like,
yeah,
they were like, call somebody. He's like, "Well, you guys have my phone." They're like, "Oh, well,
they
sorry."
didn't, they did not arrest either one of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So they neither one got arrested. They were both detained and questioned. Um, Luke's phone was downloaded on the side of the road
right, right.
and nothing. They've been let go.
Mm-hmm.
So what did get the probable cause to go into their houses? Because that's also could be an issue moving forward.
Yeah,
I can understand this probable cause being sealed at this point, but the warrant and their warrant returned, they have that the person being searched has the right to have that warrant. That's
mm-hmm.
the Fourth Amendment. But
Absolutely.
the attorneys are saying they haven't seen the warrant, which is baffling because if you go, I, I, I know people feel some type of way, but Lana from Truth and Transparency interviewed Carlos, right?
Yeah.
And he emailed her the warrant that
Mm-hmm.
from his house, and she showed it and she read it, but it was very, very vague and very, very short,
Right.
and no probable cause was attached. And it did state looking for medications and medical devices. And I was like, medical devices? She didn't have her cane with her. We know about the pacemaker, but then we learn later about some hearing aids. So I was
Yeah.
like, did she have them with her?
Right.
They were looking for signs of Nancy within the homes that they searched. They
Right.
were looking for signs of Nancy within the vehicles that they searched, and those apparently come up with nothing.
Right.
Those vehicles were given back within no time. I don't know if they still have their phones or not, but they got their downloads and they still are walking around free. I don't know what to make of it, you know, unless they just don't have enough evidence, which
Yeah.
means how come, unless they're completely innocent or that damn good, which is it?
Well, and I'll tell you what, we're looking at the appellate brief in Delphi. Hate to bring it back up, but one of the main issues that was taken in that is that Tony Liggett lied in the probable cause affidavit, and there's a couple ways you could lie. You could lie by providing false information, and you can also lie by omission. And that was the singular problem, was that two witnesses saw two completely different people, and that was not addressed in the PCA. So it's these PCAs. I get it. You're trying to make the ends justify the means, but we got laws in this country for a reason. Because at that rate, I'm salty. I'm calling the cops on all my ops, and I'm like, hey, I think they got Nancy. I'm pretty sure they got Nancy.
Yeah.
You know.
So, yeah, and well, Brian Kohberger's probable cause was sealed when he was first arrested.
Mm-hmm.
The big omission in his probable cause was the fact that IGG was even used.
Yeah.
They literally say WSU finds car in parking lot, blah 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 blah. Well, when when everything was said and done, WSU's like, yeah, we queried a car, but we didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, they didn't care.
We never notified anybody. Hell, they were looking for a different year.
That's why they're getting sued.
But wait. The PCA said y'all found a car. You pulled the guy's ID, and lo and behold, he had bushy eyebrows. So
Yeah.
There's the lie in that PCA, right?
And I remember when that PCA came out, all the big crime tubers were like, hey, this is how you write a PCA. And come to find out that there was still stuff that was just I don't know if inaccurate's the right term, but
no, it's actually, if outside of that, everything else about it's perfect, because people said it never made sense. All these times are confusing, but the car lines up with the phone pings, and that's what matters. And you hear and you see all of that. But that was the big thing about that PCA. IGG was never mentioned. And then when they were going to go to court, they were not allowed to go in there and say, we used IGG.
Right.
The defense and the prosecution had to hammer all that out. We didn't get to trial, obviously, but they were not going to walk into court. They were going to walk into court, and both sides agreed to say it was a tip that led them to Brian Kohberger, but never to say what the tip was. Like somebody called and turned him in, or turned us onto his car, or whatever the lead was. Self-reported being there that day, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But so there's a lot of things, but for them to legally to challenge, even as far as the IGG goes, I would be super careful if I was the FBI right now playing around with the IGG, because they know how close it came in the Idaho 4 case. Ann Taylor went hard.
Yeah.
This lady got way more than any other defense attorneys ever received as far as the IGG investigation part into their client goes. The judge literally took everything in the chambers for 3 damn days, had to go through all of the IGG, to take into account how they built the tree.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh, if I was Hitler, I would have retired after that.
That was Judge Judge that did all that part, though.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
That was still under Judge Judge at that point. But that's probably why he was probably glad to send that case on over to Ada County.
You'd probably write a pretty good book on that alone.
Yeah, get these people out of my hair. These people are never going to go anywhere. They're trying to do surveys and all kinds of weird stuff.
Well, and then that's why when you take into consideration like the plea, it's like, is Ann Taylor really going to accept that Brian wants to plea after all of that. I mean, she did everything she could, in my opinion. Again, I'm just a regular person, right? Would I pick her over, an Alan Jackson? I don't know. I feel like would I pick her over Andy Baldwin and Brad Rosie? 1,000%. And that's no shot to them. I think they were in a certain situation, and I think they were in over their head on a couple things or a few things. I think a lot of people would agree with me with that. But when it got to the plea, the ethical conundrum is, your choice is plea or take it to trial and risk the death penalty. I get it, but everything leading up to that, and I'm not very well versed, especially not as much as like you in Idaho 4. It just, everything pointed it to it being him. The plea, the way the plea was handled. I don't know. Everything kind of. I'm not gonna. Unless something like groundbreaking comes out, I'm not going to change my mind on him. And
Oh no, yeah.
law enforcement's going to make mistakes, and in any case, there's a difference between making a mistake and colossally screwing up an entire thing. And I think that's what we're looking at in Nancy here. I just, there's probably so much opportunity. You should get, like, your chat is just talking about, like, the rug,
The lost opportunity, like you're saying, would be in the collection of potential evidence.
Yeah, just even that alone. And then
right.
I think when you're looking at why are we doing these crazy raids right now, and it's maybe the IGG is not, you take the risk on it being fruit of the poisonous tree, but if it gets you to Nancy on the hope that she's still alive, do you really worry that much about the prosecution in that moment if you have an opportunity to save a life?
And I said that, like, so when we
right, I'm repeating things you have. I'm repeating your takes. Like, this is not original.
No, that goes back to a conversation that back in the Idaho 4 case in the beginning with the IGG stuff, right? When Ann Taylor was really fighting to get everything thrown out, including the indictment, right? We had a Twitter space, and Sleuthy and I were in there talking about what kind of precedents going forward could something like that set about them making it illegal to use the IGG to do certain things, or tools that they're investigative type things. And it goes back to what you were just talking about, we care in the end how they got there, like a lot with a lot of this, just get the person, right? Because without I don't think Moscow made a lot of mistakes. And yeah, WSU did not notify them about the white launcher like they said they did, turns out. But outside of that, I don't think Moscow had a ton to go on, other than they had a white car creeping around, in the early part. The FBI came in and did a lot with the digital stuff, with the cast and doing the geofencing,
right,
and figuring out this car had been this number. All the digital footprint of Kohberger's what got Kohberger, along with that sheath. Once they found the digital footprint, it lined up with what they theorized.
Yeah, it absolutely told the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we don't even appear to have anything like that yet. Could this person probably used a burner, especially if they're planning something, right? But if you're planning, then again, was it a short-term plan versus a long-term plan?
Right.
And long-term, how long do they think they can keep that up? If it's a person who wanted to get Savannah's attention, or however you want to word it, how long do they think they needed to do this? And are they keeping Nancy safe in the process? Because they're not, their intention is not to harm her. Do you know what I mean? That could be a possibility. I know everybody's like, what about the medication? I don't know what to think about that either. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Enton was in Mexico seeing if he could get pills. I think that's how much we've dove into this whole thing. But I think
you can, because like I said before he went, we were on a cruise one time, and this was years ago, but when we got off the cruise and we could go into Mexico and we're out, there was kiosks where you could walk up and get your prescriptions without a prescription. It
Right.
didn't matter. You didn't even and to get you just didn't even need to go to the doctor. It's
Right.
changed up a little bit now. So I knew they could get to Mexico and get medicines. And I didn't know how much it had changed since I had been there. And then when Brian went there, I saw him go into the pharmacy, and it's the controlled substances. Like back in the day, you could literally walk up there and get your Xanax from the kiosk and go
Yeah.
right back to your cruise ship with them if you wanted.
I was
You could
born in the
get
wrong era, Salty.
right. It's like now they the opioids, I think, and the stuff like that don't
Yeah.
need a prescription, but like your Lipitor, your blood pressure, things like that, you could absolutely get over the counter.
Yeah.
So you don't even got to take Nancy to Mexico, but someone could take a trip to Mexico and get what she needed
Absolutely. And
and
you wouldn't
come
have to
back.
risk her being seen or anything.
Right. And we saw how easy it was for Enton to get in that turnstile to slip right in and
Mm-hmm.
walk right back out a half a day.
Mm-hmm.
He walked down the street, goes to the pharmacy, he talks to a
Yeah.
few people, and boom, he's right back out. That he could have walked in there and got Miss Nancy's meds that day.
Yeah. And the people he interviewed, they had no idea that who Nancy Guthrie was. So it's like you go down and you just get some prescriptions, an unassuming person's just going to go, okay, well, they need this, whatever.
Yeah. And
And
exactly. And there's probably going to be no questions asked. A lot of that, especially if you're paying for it, they're
mm,
not they're not required to get like an American pharmacy without all the regulations we have. They're not
yeah.
caring over there, just pay me, pay me, pay me. So yeah, it could be so easy to go over there and get what she needed, because you don't want to refill what she needs here at her pharmacy, because boom, as soon as you hit a refill, it's triggered. They're
Hmm.
flagging. They're
Yeah.
watching that,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So that's not happening. So there's a will, there's a way, always. But I just feel it. Ransom was never going to be a long term plan.
Yeah.
Versus a stalker may have been a long term plan. I
Right.
just don't know how long they're willing to ride that out.
So let's say I'm purely curious, and let's say you're at a crap table and you get to pick, put all your chips on one scenario, one like kind of storyline. What is your gut telling you, just from what you've seen, what you know, start to finish, that this is, if I had to put all my money on one thing for it to land on, what would you say that is?
I've been torn between my two theories.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think I think it really, really, really could be a person with a problem, not for monetary gain, like not ransom,
Right.
like an obsessed person or stalker or somebody who felt slighted, somebody maybe in that capacity, because nothing else is going to make sense.
Right.
And I can't totally take ransom off the table until they tell me where those letters, the first two, came from. Right, because I still, like I said, I've reviewed the interviews with the news anchor that got them, right. But then again, like we were talking, could it be somebody who just sent them, right, to take the eyes off of me and what I really did? Then that would have to be a person obsessed. That, because who else is going to do it? Not the random robber. Oops, I made a mistake. Let me fix this by throwing out some fake ransom stuff. I don't feel like that's going to happen. So who else would do something like that? To, you know what I mean? Go to that great lengths. And if you're going to go all the way to somebody's door to take them, you're going to great lengths already. So do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my thought process right now, until someone can prove me otherwise, is going to be to go down that trail. Look at all her emails, past and present, do a deep dive, look at her past stalker situations. NBC apparently gets these on all numerous occasions.
Right.
It cannot be taken off the table. I just don't know how I can tie the guy at the door into it, though. That's my sticking point. What do you think would have happened? Was your gut telling you would be more so than any other? I know my theory is not a very popular theory, not even with the experts.
I, you know, I'm torn between two as well. I think I'm in lockstep with you that like this. I don't know. I can't help but to think that there might be some sort of negative parasocial connection between someone in Savannah and you think about like that like kind of Silence of the Lambs esque creep who you know wants this relationship to be there that's not and obsesses and obsesses and obsesses and I think that's so likely and I think that also um I hate to sound pessimistic. I think it'll be a miracle if she's found alive. I just
I
I
agree.
think it'll be a miracle if she's found alive. And not only do I think that, I think she's not been with us for a long time. If someone wants money and they're already doing a good enough job with VPN and making sure that whatever communication they send cannot be routed back to them, it should then be very, very easy for them to provide proof of life. It just should be.
It should be.
And I think that taking that into consideration, I think they're just Nancy's been gone for a while and they're doing this to put Savannah through the ringer. And I think it's some sort of like payback of perceived wrongings in the past, something
Mhm.
along the lines of that. And then like the other thing that I'm torn with is I'm sorry, I'm not ruling out a hit for hire. And I'm not saying it's one singular person.
Right.
I think you cannot take off the table. You have someone who has this very, very important career that might be a little on the rocks if the rumors are true. If, and they have older mother that they just did this whole. I don't want to say it's performative, but they did a very outward facing, preemptive. I love my mom thing for the whole world to see, and then maybe the burden of getting her a house that she wants to maybe spend more time with her kids. She's on medication daily. She's had health problems. That is not a uncommon thing in the world. And so I just until until
I
we get a
feel
lot more
that. I mean,
information, I'm not gonna not
yeah,
brush that
but
off.
also, but for me, I mean, I've considered it, but for me, because I've been the caregiver of so many relatives, right? I
Right.
can imagine it becoming such a burden that I'm gonna go to that level, um,
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't know that I can get there because I feel like there would be some sort of there's gonna be a breadcrumb, there's gonna be a paper trail somewhere, there's gonna
Right.
be did they look at Savannah in the way they may have looked at Annie and Tom, right? If
Right.
for because Savannah was not going to be the primary caregiver here. Savannah lives in New York. She might be financially responsible for some things, but as far as that day to day, taking care of Mama, that's on Annie. She's right there close by. um, that sort of thing. Jeff, I saw your comment that you obsessed person is irrational. Not always. We were just reading about this very subject yesterday and about celebrity stalkers in particular, and this one subgroup that will appear outwardly to be very normal and to be functioning very normal in the world. So that also makes me think as well, we may have somebody who's incredibly smart, somebody who's incredibly organized and can plan, has a good thought process. This is, you know what I'm saying? If it's the guy at the door, then hey, he gets all the credit for that too. But I feel like they may not be his idea if there's a second individual. But because then you go, well, what would prompt the person at the door to do that for a second individual? Well, boyfriend or relative, you know what I mean? Or a
Right.
guy you pick up at the bar because you know he might be into doing evil things and you need to get a gotta do a evil thing.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
how quickly would that guy roll on you, right? I mean, but
Right.
then again, he's gonna have to roll on himself at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think burglary gone wrong is out of the window.
So far out, right?
Um, yeah, I just
Yeah, that one's really hard to even keep in the on the table. God, I took it off so long ago, right?
yeah,
Um, we've heard too much to even lend it to being that, because nothing else makes sense. And if it is a real ransom thing, because I got some. I mean, I'm not going to do it tonight. But as far as re-reviewing some of that early couple of letters and how particularly they were written and the things that were said in them and the way that Savannah come out, needing proof of life, and boom, that was it. There was never another communication.
that's a huge problem.
It is,
It's a
right?
huge problem.
Because if something went terribly wrong, unplanned,
Hmm.
we cannot provide that proof of life. Let's
Right.
cut our let's take cut the money and run, or so to speak. Take our losses and move on. And we'll
Yeah.
never know. We'll never know.
Yeah. Or maybe she was, taken, and someone intentionally did something really bad, and then they're like, hey, maybe we can make some money off this or something.
I don't know,
Um,
because I don't know why they would take her and intentionally do something bad and then decide maybe we can make money off of it,
yeah.
right? I don't know
Well, the
why
only
they
reason
would.
I theorize that is because of the no proof of life. That's it.
Well, I think, okay, so if you was a planned ransom kidnap,
Hmm.
um, and something did happen to your victim, are you still going to try to get your money, see if the family will bite, or do you wait to see if they ask for proof of life? And the minute they did, they're like, "Well, shit, there's no way we can provide it."
Right.
The
And then,
family even mentions, remember, she's like, "None of this AI stuff, you know, like." Because
mhm,
you gotta go. The FBI has to know. They got to think of that stuff. But
right.
it's just weird that but then I'm thrown off because after those 2 videos come out, we need proof of life, all that, it switched to we understand, you know, we we are here to listen.
Right.
Um, talking directly to like a kidnapper, but for a different reason other than ransom. It was a weird switch up to me.
Like almost like it was someone they knew.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
was that purposely because she maybe knows, or
Right.
because they have an indication of who it could be, or was she trying to get that rapport going with that person? I would
Yeah.
think that if she really considered that, wouldn't you come out with more videos to try to reach that person and get at that heartstring and get that empathy? And maybe
Hmm.
the guy at the door will be like, "Man, my sister really is a whack job," or my
Yeah.
mom, or my whatever. Uh,
Right.
or my lover, she's not who I thought she was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Unless he's the lone wolf at the door and it's all him obsessed. Who
I
knows?
yeah. I don't know. It's tough.
It is so tough. But all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you coming up tonight and helping me unpack some of this and talk about some of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Appreciate you joining. It was fun. This was great.
yeah, going through the timeline again, and just looking at the maps and even going back to where they what were today and looking at the houses they were going to and were in relationship to where Nancy's house is located, and are they looking to see if they have any exit points, because they got to find something familiar, right? If I have
Right.
a car here, do I have said car over here? Oh, look at this footage, I got that same car over here. Well, now do we have a theme going here with
Like a
this car?
triangulation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and what can we learn from it? So who knows what they're the FBI, so who knows exactly what they're doing, right? We
Yeah.
just hope we just hope they're doing
I'm
from
really
this.
happy. I think I feel really fortunate that I got to jump on right as we got um, the DNA back from the glove 2 miles away. I'm
Yes.
very happy that we got to talk about how ludicrous that whole thing was and what is the holdup with what's inside of the house.
I know.
You
Right, 'cause
know,
I know whenever they were tweeting out that it was, the restaurant employee, I think it was you tagged me on Twitter in the comment there,
I was like,
and I was
Salty,
like,
check this out.
"Yes, yes, I see that now."
Yeah.
But it was crazy because I didn't hold a lot of, I didn't have a lot of faith in that damn glove thing. That thing worried me, to be honest,
Yeah.
being so far from the crime scene and me going all defense attorney mode in my brain going, no, don't do that to yourself because it's so problematic, and a scary thought that they could actually do it.
Yeah.
And like you said, do we care sometimes, if it's going to get the bad guy?
It's again, you want to have the mindset of like, all right, let's support law enforcement. Let's get this scumbag, get him, at the very least behind bars and on trial, right? And then you're like, hold on a second, a glove 2 miles away that is we have gloves and trash everywhere. What if that was me? Like
I
that,
know.
then your mind goes to that, and then again, it didn't help what they did in the beginning with everything and the chaos behind it. If this was lockstep up until that point, I probably would have been like, hell yeah, that glove, I'm gonna go to bed tonight and shoe one up there, hoping that they get a match. But instead, everything that happened leading up to it, I'm like, man, this
Yeah.
feels just like such a stretch. So
It does. It really does.
yeah.
One of my mods sent me a link a minute ago. Brianna Whitney has tweeted out that I guess she has an interview. Sheriff Chris Nanos on If Luke Daly and Carlos,
Uh-huh.
the two men detained and released in the Nancy Guthrie investigation, are cleared or
Ooh.
not in the are cleared or not in the case. In addition to his answer, he says he is not aware of any other search warrants that have been served on any other persons of interest. So I guess she'll have that interview over on Arizona Family News on the YouTube channel there.
So it's going to be 5 minutes of him saying that, and then another 30
Yeah,
minutes of him saying, "Why are you guys so mean to me?"
right. More of his word salad. Wait,
Yeah, right.
what else did she put? Hang on. There was another tweet she did, and it was something to do with that photo of the backpackless guy. Oh, there's been conflicting reports on if the surveillance footage shows Guthrie's abductor at her door 2 different times. Nanos responds to this. Was there a timestamp at some point in time? He says could have been. The image they gave us doesn't have that. Well, we knew that already. See, they act like it's like breaking news that he said something. So she must have done an interview with him. Oh, it looks like it. Yeah, Arizona tonight. Okay, tonight on Arizona True Crime Live. New Sheriff Nanos interview. Unprecedented further murder conviction of some of the shit she's talking about. Okay, so I guess she'll have a little sit down with the sheriff. He's talking to somebody besides NBC News.
We'll see.
I'm curious to see in the morning if NBC News is going to run this piece about how they were in front of Nancy's home and talking to some women who were just there.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw what I saw on JLR's live today, I'm like, that's because I know it's the same girl who's been reporting on the case, interviewing Nanos. So I'm just curious to see if that's all staged, if it is, and it's bothersome.
I would put my whole year paycheck on he's not doing an interview unless he knows what questions are coming his way.
Oh yeah, like he's getting his
he's
questions.
probably sending them questions to ask.
Yeah, here's what you are allowed to ask me, and don't be like that Brian Inton guy.
Yeah.
He says mean things, and I want you to interview him and ask him how he heard that. We'll be like, Sheriff, we heard it out of the other cop's mouth. He interviewed him. Like, Jesus, sir.
What kind of a grown man sits there and says, I can't believe you're criticizing me this way. Like, dude, put a jacket on and go find Nancy.
Yeah, and he said
you know what I mean?
And he didn't know his words, or he would we would hold him to his words the way we've done. We're like, dude, it's your words. It's supposed to matter.
Yeah, not only are you a human being, you're a public official.
Exactly.
And congratulations, you're in the spotlight of one of the most high profile cases so far this year. Terrible that I have to say so far, but
That's not
also,
his first one. He was there when Gabby Gifford case happened.
yep,
He should know better by now, though, right?
yeah,
Instead, he's still beefing with the FBI for whatever reason. He got beef.
yeah. I mean, I think I don't know if if it was Savannah hiring a private investigator or what that made him come around, but
I
and
don't
he
know.
hasn't fully, but
And he made a comment a while back about how, oh, I text with Savannah, I've talked to her, but she's got her people. And I thought, if I saw that blood on my mama's front porch, and then I saw that brush, and then I saw that video, and the guy was handling all that stuff, I'm going to feel some kind of way about you right now.
yeah,
Did you
I'm
even
not
do your damn job?
I'm not
You
putting
know
it past him to clear the family as an apology.
exactly.
Right?
He's trying to stay on the good side.
Right.
It is exactly what that whole thing was about, in my opinion. I'm not thinking, oh, they're guilty and they've done something. He's lying, but I
Right.
think you're right. He did that for that purpose,
Mhm.
and I felt that from the minute it happened.
Yeah.
It's like I'm feeling some type of way about all this NBC stuff and this shiny little there. Why are y'all all pretending life is normal and gonna go on and be beautiful when this poor old lady is missing?
Mhm.
Y'all show emotion, show you're real, and be sad for a fucking minute.
Yeah, and
Instead,
why
you're
can't we
smiling
have
through it.
why
Yeah,
can't we have a majority of the focus be on this is Nancy, this is the person that we're trying to find. Here are the facts of the case. This is how you can help. you know,
right.
like
It, and
I don't know.
it like it's all we tried to go and bring some talk about Nancy a little more here in depth, right? On one of the shows we did about what Nancy did for her routines of the day. And
Right.
even like talking about Annie the other day about how the focus was on Savannah. And like I said, Savannah lived in New York. She was not there to do the day to day grind.
Yeah.
I,
No, that's a
I
good point. Yeah.
I've been there. And I will, don't trade it for anything in the world. I would do it all over again. Right. But being that one there each and every day, it is hard, but it's going to take a lot to get you to the level that you need to do something drastic about it. She lived alone, right? She
Mhm.
was capable.
Right.
It wasn't like they were 24/7 caregivers, because I've been there too.
Yeah.
That's the hardest walk of all. This right here would have been easy.
Well, and again, I that's a good perspective for me, especially with just some of the things for some reason I can't let go of. Um, the one kind of maybe counterpoint I'll make is I like to think that you and I have good hearts, and we treat taking care of something that can't take care of itself as a privilege, let alone a favor. And I hate to say it, but unfortunately, there are just people out there in the world that aren't like that.
That's true too. I've known a few. They're
Yeah.
very, very resentful for what they have to do now.
Yeah.
Right. And I absolutely get it. I know somebody who went through that, and,
Mhm.
and rightfully so. So, but it still takes a lot to get you to that level, especially if you don't even got to live with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're just down the street there. So I don't know how in depth they had to take care of Nancy. Do you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
I don't think it was like that, because the lady seemed to be functioning just fine on her own. She was going to church, she was going with her friends.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't again I don't want to victim blame,
oh no, you're good. I mean, I
but
get it.
and your chat mentioned this a couple times, but I also take issue with the like you're gonna leave your 84-year-old mother alone and you have all this money and you're not gonna get a subscription for the freaking cameras.
Yeah,
That's a little tough with me too. And I think your
yeah,
chat made a really great point with that. But at the same time, it's also like I think people just you put up a camera, you forget about it, you don't
Yep.
perceive any threat,
You
and
become
that there could be
complacent.
an explanation for
Right.
that too. The truth is that we just don't know.
And I thought about that too. We were all like that.
Yeah,
Well, who doesn't have the subscription? Well,
right,
I think a lot of people don't. Maybe this is that opportunity to rethink your situation as to should I get that now, because we can see what happens. But you would think, if it was your mom and you were a high profile person and there was a possibility, you
right,
would have those things, like, alarm company even set up, maybe. So someone does breach a door or a window, you got an alarm going off somewhere. You would
right.
think that would have been set up at Nancy's, but maybe they lived there for how long? 50 years?
Yep.
Were they so complacent? You
Yeah,
know,
5 decades, I think.
so comfortable that
Yeah,
nothing's gonna happen at mom's. It's mom's house, right? Nothing's happening around there. I
right.
But now, hindsight, could you imagine the guilt that's set in because you didn't do all that?
I couldn't imagine. I mean, maybe the FBI was at Annie's because they felt, or maybe Annie asked them, like, hey, can you please come in and check for security exploits or something, just as a courtesy. Like, they might have had a reason to believe that she was in danger. I know they took her car, right?
They did take her car, and
Yeah,
so her and Tom got those text messages from that weird guy out of California,
that's right.
that said, did y'all pay the ransom yet, or whatever? So
Yeah,
then, now what I don't know is, so the FBI was in there just a couple of days after the fact, right?
right.
Is that them coming in, doing their due diligence? You were the last ones to see her. We have
Right.
to we have to rule you out. We have to video or take photos of this house, and we have to take your car and
Hmm.
process your car. Now, why they would keep it this long and now be in the process of returning it when the other guys have already got their car back, I couldn't tell you what that shit's about. It's weird,
Hmm.
and I don't know how to explain it,
Yeah.
but I feel like if they had any sort of evidence at all, would they've made an arrest already,
Right.
and been filing charges, and we have this evidence because you're raiding houses. Can we call Annie's a raid, or do we call it doing an investigation, because that was the last known place this victim was at, other than her own house? Because I'm as if I'm a cop or an investigator, I need to see the last known locations, the car, the house that she was at,
Right.
especially the car that took her home. Because what if her
Right.
blood is in there? People were like, did she ever make it home? The blood on the front porch is a good indication that she did, and I don't think that was staged.
Hmm. And the her Apple Watch, right?
Yeah,
That was connected to her pacemaker. I mean,
yeah,
that's probably a pretty good indicator that she was home.
yeah, yes, and
Yeah.
especially if she had hearing aids where they in or they out. We don't know
Right.
any of
Right.
that. Um, but yeah, there was indications that she was by. There's a guy at the door trying to get in. I'm pretty sure she's home.
Hmm.
Unless people are thinking that, well, that was stage two to make you think somebody went in there, but she was never really in there. But there's no indication to me that she was never really in that house. She got dropped off. And I don't know who went back to that door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just felt like if there was any, I don't think the FBI went in there as a courtesy thing to the family, like, can you go clear me? I think they're going to do that regardless. They're going to do that. They should.
Yeah. No, I think I meant more of like, okay, they already got cleared, and then maybe that
Yeah.
guy who communicated to them about the ransom came through, and they were like, hey, out of an abundance of caution, can we take a look
Maybe
at?
maybe because they got a threat themselves or
Yeah.
something that we don't are unaware of
I
that
think
could
it's
have triggered that response that we saw.
Yeah. Sorry, I think it is very suspicious to me that they still have Annie's car, but they got Luke's car back to him
Yeah.
on a quick turnaround.
Carlos too. Carlos had his back that night.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When he was being interviewed, they said, where's your car? He's like, oh, it's right over there.
Hmm.
It's right there. I was like, well, dang, they didn't find anything, on the, but they actually took Luke's away.
Yeah.
We saw that on the flatbed. and I guess they processed it more thoroughly because we saw them taking the pictures and all that in the beginning, and nothing was there. I guess not a hair
Mm-hmm.
from Nancy Guthrie, not a skin cell transfer touch DNA situation happening, no
Mm-hmm.
blood.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to indicate Nancy was in these vehicles or these houses.
No.
Now, if Nancy is close to her home because this person lives in the area, if they're an obsessed individual, how far back does that obsession go?
Right. Like how many times were they driving by the house or walking up to the house, or how much contact did they have with her?
Well, Savannah's lived there her whole life. She grew
Right.
up there.
Right.
High school days, was there that one friend that didn't make it in life?
Right.
You know what I mean? If they're from the area, so familiar with everything, if we're going down that road with them, they got to be from the area.
Mm-hmm.
Then how is that a? Because an obsessed individual could literally be from anywhere in the country,
Right.
just sitting there watching their TV, never physically met Savannah Guthrie or her mom.
Yeah. I mean, you had a guy from Chicago who was living in Vegas at the time go and kill his wife and her husband in Columbus,
Exactly.
Ohio. Um, and it doesn't take a lot to research how to, mask a VPN or and pay for and enlist some help for that. But
Look,
um,
Koberger bought that sheath
yeah,
months before he even went out
yep.
towards Idaho and didn't know anything about the lay of the land at all that we were aware of
Oh my
before.
God.
So, it does it like 3 months is all that dude needed.
Well, that's another thing. They were making a big deal about this backpack being bought from Walmart. I'm sorry, that was not like
No.
whoever carried that backpack into that house was not the purchaser at Walmart. That would, if that happens, I will drink beer out of my shoe. Like if that's the case.
So I can agree with that. I absolutely. That puts another person at play here.
Right. Right.
And who is she? And I say she because I'm like, is this a man obsessed or a woman with a problem? And
Right.
why is a man at the door going to help another man who's obsessed? Or is he
Yeah.
going to help a woman who is obsessed? If he's not the guy himself who's obsessed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. If it was Savannah, I could understand probably more likely it'd be a man who was obsessed. But yeah, I
But
don't
what
know.
if it was women are very, very vindictive? And when we were watching
Oh,
Maureen
I know.
O'Connell over on Interview Room,
Mm-hmm.
when she was talking to Dr. Ann about the possibility of a woman being involved at all, she kind of perked up. She's like, "Oh, a woman?" And Dr. Ann, that's when she mentioned Savannah had a female stalker in the past. And when she said that, Dr. Ann said, "Interesting. How long ago in the past?" I was like, "Very interesting. Tell me more.
Right.
Tell me more."
Right.
Because I'm
Yeah.
already trying to figure out how the guy at the door plays into it. And if I got a woman in the mix, I can tell you how the guy at the door plays into it.
Yeah. What did Nancy do for a profession before she was retired?
Journalism, and then she taught at the college as well. Her degree was in journalism. And
Yeah.
when she went back to work after her husband died, she went back to work at the college and did some things with journalism and things of that nature. I'm
Mm,
not real sure about all of it.
yeah.
She made
Butterfly
a
makes
lot
a
of
good point.
she made political posts and things of that nature. I know that.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
Yeah.
So what a
Man,
butterfly.
if she was randomly abducted over a political post, eesh.
I know, right? I like that would make me go next level because I got so done with politics long ago. I would be so mad.
I've been trying to, not be political. I think, I
Yeah.
want to stick to crime,
Yes, me too.
but when there's criminal aspects to what's going on, I'm like, maybe I should talk about this a little bit. And I'm trying really hard just to stay completely out of it with like a political opinion. And I always,
Yeah, you can't help it sometimes, but it's out there,
yeah, and
And
it's,
I
yeah,
haven't touched on it here either, and I've been covering this case since it happened, and I have not because
yeah,
I've seen the post, but I'm not ready to say this is tied to that or Epstein or anything else,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Of that nature. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
more I'm more in line with Ransom gone terribly wrong and we never got the proof of life, or I've got some sort of situation with an obsessed person going on.
Yeah, the Epstein thing is the same as like, Savannah's husband or the burglary gone wrong. Like I put it in the bucket of like, in my opinion, highly unlikely, but if it were to be a thing, would I have sit here and gone unbelievable? That's impossible. Not
Right.
necessarily, but
Yeah.
that's just not the direction from what I've seen and the information that I have that I would go in.
Yeah.
You go with what you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to follow the evidence at this point too. And there's no, if it was a political thing, there's usually some kind of statement that follows,
Yes.
right? They
Yeah. And then we
want
have a
it
terrorism
known.
situation.
Yeah, they want it known. This is me and I did this, right?
Like kind of like
That's
Luigi
usually,
Mangione
yeah,
comes to
it's
mind.
usually that kind of thing,
Right.
they're fine with being known what they just did. So I don't feel like any of that's at play here at all.
Yeah.
I don't, money and all the things and all the mining situation that Savannah's dad, all this stuff that's been explored over the several weeks. So, or
Hmm.
however 32 days here. Um, Hawkeyes, yeah, Megan Kelly talks about her experience with her stalker. She also talks about her experience at NBC. Um, it's epic. It's
Yeah.
fucking epic. So excuse my language, but I don't really care. But she talks about the stuff that with her stalking situation and this elaborate scheme, right? And the FBI was definitely in on it, right, trying to figure everything out. But she said there was literally actors involved because they were like an overseas type scam thing happening. But they'll put actors in it and everything. It's crazy the extremes they might go. But yeah,
I like it's so easy I mean, I hate to say this, it's the morbid reality, but when you're in a position like a Megan Kelly or Savannah, um, you're inevitably gonna have stalkers, and that's like,
mm-hmm.
um, it's like the back in the day where we would have at my job we'd have like bomb threat training, and they always say like, you know, you're gonna get 100 threats called in a year, maybe. It only takes one legitimate to completely end a life. So we're gonna, take every single one seriously. And it could be a situation where Savannah was just like, yeah, I've got stalkers, whatever. And then maybe there was something. And then they had the thought of like, all right, let's get her back over to the Today Show. And maybe we can, get someone riled up, and again, I don't want to regurgitate what we've already talked about 1,000 times, but maybe that's what's like tying into it is that Nancy was abducted, held for ransom, and Savannah legitimately thought that this was a ransom situation, and maybe it was, but also maybe it was a stalker, and the realization finally like set in for her, like, oh my God, I've
Mm-hmm.
had so many people like, I get email threats, I get text message threats, I get phone call threats, I get, people telling me they saw me at a restaurant. Um, as the kids call it, standing, that old Eminem music video about an obsessed fan. And then maybe the realization set in like, oh my God, it could be this person. And they're like, all right, well, let's get you back out there and see what they do.
That I thought about that, and
Yeah.
Brian Enton said in one of his videos, he went to that. So back in November when Savannah did the big expose for NBC and they showed her mom and everything, they went to a local Mexican restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Enton went to that restaurant recently. It's been about a week maybe. Anyway, he went in and asked him about that filming of that show, that
Mm-hmm.
episode, and they said the FBI did come into that restaurant, but they were asking them specifically about anything odd that happened during the filming of that show, anybody odd that shouldn't have been there, and they were reviewing like all the footage. Like they were looking to see if someone showed up,
Right.
like a stalker situation. So
Right.
they're absolutely like working that angle, whether we realize it or not. They're absolutely looking at that angle. They would be fools not to at,
Right.
at that stage. Now, interestingly enough, I kept talking about geofence warrants and how are they doing this and doing that. And I see that an hour ago, Brian Enton posted his latest video has dropped, and it
Mhm.
says, FBI was back in the neighborhood today. He says, also, I learned more about how they are trying to track cell phones and why it's especially challenging. So I haven't watched that video yet. You
Hmm.
guys know where to find Brandon's content on the YouTubes. Y'all go watch that and see what he's got to say. I'm interested because I feel like that's like their only leads, or what came out of the geofence warrant, right?
Yep.
That's it. Because the camera footage is wonky. We see there we don't have any,
No.
and we got some scratched evidence off of one camera. We got some mixed DNA that may or may not yield a partial profile. We don't know what's going on. We got a bogus random glove that didn't mean nothing. So I think all
That
they got
that
is what's in the geofence warrant.
and that glove, um, had it actually meant something, was just a pot shot to get us to more.
Yes.
Like it's that glove is such a stretch to me. That felt like living on a prayer. It really did.
Oh God, it really, really did. And I couldn't get over that thing fast enough, and all
Right.
the talk about it.
Yeah. I just
Uh,
remember you like, what's wrong with the DNA in the house?
I know, I was getting so frustrated. What is wrong with the damn DNA from the house? Something's got to be up with that.
Yep.
'Cause, uh,
I
and
said,
then yeah,
amen. Amen.
and there apparently is a big problem with the DNA in the house. We don't know. We might wake up tomorrow and hey, IGG done solved the case. We'll have to wait and see.
We-
So maybe they'll get somewhere with that partial profile overnight.
Yep.
I don't
And
know.
Taylor and Alan Jackson are passing the bar
Oh
exam
my
for everybody
God!
right now.
Right?
So,
Here they here they come. Here
yeah.
they come. Oh, here, loud and proud. All
Uh,
right, guys. Well, Keith, thank you for coming up and joining me tonight. It's been fun. I appreciate the conversation, and I think the chat's appreciated you being here as well.
yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me. It was great. I think I look forward to hearing more of your thoughts as this unravels more. So,
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming to the chat and hanging out with us, and I appreciate you coming, and I'll get you back up here again soon.
yeah, whenever
I look
whatever you
forward
want to
to it.
talk, I'm if I'm available, I'm going to jump on with you for sure.
All right, great.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good night.
You too. Have a good night.
All right, let's see. Oops. All right, guys. Well, y'all, thanks for coming in and being part of the conversation. And uh, sorry I wasn't paying attention to a lot of y'all's chatting going on. I'm so busy talking. I was trying to keep an eye on chat at the same time. But I do appreciate y'all coming in and sharing your thoughts and your opinions as well, and listening to all of ours. Um, so I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow or not. It's a wait and see how I feel kind of thing. But I'm going to go chill out and get some rest, and I will see all of you sometime over the weekend. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.